Bridges have connected people for centuries. When it comes to helping small businesses build bridges with the people they serve, there's a new gold standard. 412 Communications offers a uniquely comprehensive array of media solutions to help your brand establish and maintain strong, lasting connections with your clientele.
To play your best, attitude and mindset are key. The saying, look good, feel good, play good, simply didn't come along by accident, and it's what Envious Gameware does with every team for which they design jerseys. Envious Gameware designs high-end custom hockey uniforms, bags, and apparel, and they're the official uniform provider of Buffalo State College Club Hockey. Find them online, enviousgameware.com. Microphone check 1 2 1 2 3 4. Microphone check 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5. Microphone 1 check 1 2.
Microphone 2 check. Check check.
A busy weekend in the UNYCHL wraps up this afternoon, and we are at Dwyer Arena in Lewiston getting set for what should be a great non-league matchup in the Collegiate Hockey Federation. It is Niagara University hosting the University of Georgia. Hello, I'm Aaron Elprin alongside color commentator Ryan Tantalo as we bring you live coverage of the UNYCHL presented by Buffalo Golf & Social. Buffalo Golf & Social, Buffalo's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. Ryan, this is the first Nickel City Hockey Network League broadcast this year, and it really is a perfect place to start.
It's a great place to start. A marquee matchup between two of the top 25 or top 20 teams in the CHF. And the University of Georgia will be wrapping up their 3-game trip to Western New York on Friday. They took down Buffalo State 4-3. And yesterday, last night, against St. Bonaventure, it ended up in a 1-1 tie, but Georgia actually won the shootout. But the league, College Hockey South, doesn't play shootouts, so it goes in as a tie, and so far they're still undefeated through 2 games of this road trip.
In that game last night, Georgia scoring the first goal in the first period. Bonaventure tied it late in the third period. Then both teams had multiple chances during overtime before it went to the shootout. A great hockey game by all accounts from Olean last night. On Friday, that was a back-and-forth affair between the Bulldogs and Buff State. Georgia got a goal from Trevor Gutman with less than 8 minutes remaining. That one would prove to be the difference. Nick Newbold was excellent in net, making 27 saves in the win.
And the Bulldogs have enjoyed an even better goaltending performance last night as Ryan Testino made the start against St. Bonaventure. 52 shots on goal he faced, and only 1 got by him in the 1-1 tie.
And meanwhile, it is also the third game of the weekend for Niagara. And they might actually be trying to out-travel Georgia this weekend, even though the Bulldogs did have 5 states to drive through in order to get here. Niagara played Friday against Niagara County Community College right here in this building, an 11-3 win. Purple Eagles then traveled to Binghamton to face the Binghamton Bearcats in their season opener yesterday. Binghamton winning that one by a 6-4 count. So 3 challenging opponents in 3 days for the Purple Eagles as well as Georgia.
Certainly a challenging start to the season, but if a team is trying to prepare for a run in nationals where it's going to be 6 games in 6 days, 3 in 3 days is a great tune-up for that.
Spoke with Georgia coach John Camp earlier today. He said that he's been just thrilled with the trip so far, getting to face some high-quality opponents that offer a little bit of a different look from maybe what they're used to. Says it's helped them achieve some team bonding, both with the 16-hour bus ride up from Athens, Georgia, as well as a team walk that the team did yesterday at Niagara Falls. Friday, they did a really good job of avoiding any sort of hangover from that bus ride. They didn't. They came out fast and did a good job of avoiding those bus legs that can sometimes be an issue on a long road trip. They played really well throughout. They matched the physical pace that the Buff State team tried to employ in that game, and they did a really good job setting the tone for their weekend with the early win.
And then on Saturday, they had an even tougher opponent than St. Bonaventure, one of the best teams in all of the CHF, a fast team, a big crowd on hand in Olean, and an atmosphere that is usual for the Bonnies. And they had a monster game in net from Ryan Testino, who we mentioned, 52 saves in a 1-1 tie, but also an unofficial shootout victory.
Yes, it's the shootout win that doesn't count as a shootout win, a 1-1 tie in the record books, but either way you look at it, an excellent game last night from Olean, as we hope to have a follow-up to that here today as we bring you live coverage of the UNYCHL, and our coverage is presented by Buffalo Golf & Social, Western New York's leading indoor golf facility. Simulators, lessons, leagues, Buffalo Golf & Social is the area's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. Also, with great beer and wine selection, it's the perfect place to sit and watch golf with others who love the game. Locations in downtown and Orchard Park. Book your next event at Buffalo Golf & Social. Should be ready for face-off here from Dwyer Arena in Lewiston. We are on the campus of Niagara University as the Purple Eagles welcome in the Georgia Bulldogs tonight. Should be a heck of a matchup. Both teams have completed their warm-up periods, and now we're just waiting for both teams to come onto the ice to get things started here. And really, it's been a big weekend already here in the UNYCHL. 21 games on the schedule involving UNYCHL teams this weekend. Got to see some great matchups already this weekend, and we think that this one here late in the weekend to wrap things up should be right up there with it, with all the other matchups that we've seen this weekend. A couple of scores from around the UNYCHL, our scoreboard presented by Militello Realty. Yesterday we saw Union and Albany finish in a 5-5 tie. Allegheny making their debut in the UNYCHL picked up a 9-4 win against Gannon. Niagara County Community College 6-5 over Alfred State. Chuck Schmidl scoring 5 goals in that game. Farmingdale, an overtime win over Cortland, 8-7 on Long Island yesterday. Cornell beat Colgate 13-2. Meanwhile, it was the University at Buffalo beating Buffalo State by a 9-1 score. So plenty of action around the league yesterday. There are 3 games in the UNYCHL today. Paul Smith's and St. John Fisher meeting right now in Rochester. We'll be looking for an update from that game as soon as we can find one. Then later on this afternoon, it is going to be Buffalo and Fredonia from the Steel Hall in Fredonia. That is a 4:30 start this afternoon, wrapping up a great opening weekend in the UNYCHL. It's kind of been a soft open to the season with a couple of games the first week, a couple more the second week, and then this huge blowout weekend. And we're glad to cap it off with this live broadcast of Niagara and Georgia.
It's been an excellent weekend, a little bit of an interesting weekend in terms of the balance of power. We've seen some teams last year that had success struggling to start out the season, but still plenty of time to play, and then a team like Niagara, who you expect to compete probably with one of their biggest tests so far early in the season against a talented Georgia team.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we're still waiting for the teams to take the ice to get things started here this afternoon. Our broadcast is brought to you by Militello Realty, Western New York's premier commercial real estate broker. Also by Envious Gameware, designers of custom hockey uniforms, bags, and apparel. And by 412 Communications, the new gold standard in digital media solutions. And of course, our coverage of UNYCHL hockey, presented by Buffalo Golf and Social, Buffalo's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. Not sure exactly what sort of delay we have going on here as we wait for both teams to take the ice, but I'm going to step away for here just a moment as we get ready for both teams to come onto the ice. Then we should have team introductions as we have lowered the lights here in the building. I think we have a little bit of a show coming out here from the Niagara University Purple Eagles, so we'll step away for a moment, then we'll be back with Puck Drop in a couple moments. teams have come onto the ice, and we're about ready to get things started here from Dwyer Arena. We're on the campus of Niagara University, and it is the Niagara University Purple Eagles hosting the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Elper, alongside Ryan Pantola for the call of today's game. Producer John Dwyer, camera operator Jeff Kazarowski, as we get set for what should be an excellent non-conference matchup here in the Collegiate Hockey Federation. Two teams that are expected to be powers throughout this season across the nation. We get to see them face off here in what is the finish of a 3-game in 3 days stretch here for both teams. Both Georgia coming up here and playing 3 games, and Niagara also playing 3 games locally.
It's pretty impressive what Georgia's been able to do, traveling, like we said earlier, through 5 states and taking on some of the best teams in the country in the CHF and holding their own, if not outplaying those teams. They had to win on 1-goal margin victory against Boston State, a tie shootout last night, and now taking on Niagara, possibly the best of the 2 teams that faced Niagara also holding their own against some tough competition. Both came against Binghamton last night, and hoping to get back into the now.
We're set to go here, about to get underway here from the Dwyer Arena here on the campus of Niagara University. And it's Georgia with possession of it here early, moving it up ice. Into the offensive zone is an opportunity for Conway down low, almost getting that first goal of the game, not even 10 seconds into the action. Georgia now playing some defense here in the neutral zone. Good job to stop that rush by Niagara through the neutral zone, but eventually it is more making sure it gets all the way deep into the Georgia defensive end. Georgia having a little bit of difficulty finding possession there along their own blue line. Eventually it's settled down and moved into the offensive zone. As now it's going to be an opportunity for some forecheck pressure. This is big down the far side, putting some pressure on the Niagara defenseman. But a good play there by DiMatteo to get it up ice. He's got it to Moore. Moore now has DiMatteo driving in towards the net, try to feed that pass to him. Maybe just a step out of his reach on that play. Puck back into the Niagara zone now as Brady Knopf goes back for it. Both teams making some changes. Now here comes the Georgia forecheck. Now through the neutral zone, just a little bit out of the reach of his intended target, but Niagara has it here in the offensive end. That shot going just wide. And now it is dumped in back behind the cage as Niagara looks to put on some pressure here in the offensive zone.
Niagara came out pretty fast, and I knew that was a point of emphasis for them going up against this Georgia team. They like to move their feet, and they're very active.
Niagara keeping it here in the zone. A little bit of pressure down below the goal line. Ethan Knopf with possession of it. Gets it back to the point to Brady Knopf. That shot comes in. Misses the net just wide. Now an opportunity for a rebound chance. That shot taken there from a tough angle. Save made there by Nick Newbold, who's getting to start again here tonight. He was in net for Georgia on Friday, and he was excellent in the 4-3 win over Buffalo State. Puck dumped in right on goal. Newbold just plays it off to the side. Now Georgia looking to move it up ice. Doesn't connect. There's some big contact there in the neutral zone as Nick Mandia laying the hit on his man there. Opportunity for some numbers possibly for Georgia into the offensive zone. Gutman letting a shot go. It hits a stick and goes just wide. But Georgia keeps it moving here in the offensive end. Train finding possession of it, looking to start the breakout up the near side. Gets it up with Cross across the red line, but he's got to now clear the zone as the zone entry there was a little bit slow in happening. Niagara making a couple of changes here as well, as it's going to be Puma setting it up behind his own net for the Bulldogs. Pass doesn't connect into the neutral zone, and Niagara taking possession away. Blake Train with it here against the near boards. D-to-D pass, and now Niagara looking to set up that pass up ice, but nothing there, and they go D-to-D yet again. Up to Marcus Bratton in the neutral zone. 2 Georgia men on him. He circles back towards his blue line, finds an outlet pass, and now has an opportunity to drive into the offensive zone. He's got Cristaldi with it now along the goal line, tries to get that pass out in front. Newbold does a good job of covering that one up quickly as we have a little bit of pleasantries being exchanged behind the net. A little less than 3 minutes in.
Pretty evenly matched beginning of this game. The first 2 minutes and 48 seconds, I'd say Georgia had the best hands right off the bat, about 10 seconds in, but a couple decent offensive zone possessions from both sides. The Georgia forecheck has looked pretty good to me, controlling the Niagara blue line, but Niagara's still been able to get it down the ice and set up, and here they are taking the offensive zone.
Teams kind of in that early on feeling out process in the game as both teams try to determine exactly what the other side has to offer. I think that's something that I know Georgia coach John Camp was talking about enjoying about this trip, is getting to face some different type of competition, a little bit different style of play, and that's been part of what they've enjoyed here this weekend. As the shot comes in from the left point, Niagara letting that one go. Looked like the referee was going to have that play continue, but Newbold ended up playing it to his defenseman, and then play continues briefly, and then it was blown dead. 17:01 now remaining here in the first period, as we're still waiting for our first goal.
To speak to what you mentioned about Coach Camp and what he was saying, I think you definitely do see that when two teams come from a little bit of a different conference atmosphere, different regions of the country, styles of play. You might see people that don't normally contribute for both of these sides coming maybe deeper off the bench and just having those interesting matchups that they might not have against the teams that they play 2-3 times a year and are more familiar with.
It's a College Hockey South and UNYCHL battle going on here, as we have a little bit of a conversation going on now between the three officials right along the Georgia blue line. Not quite sure what this conversation is about. Oh, it's about where the faceoff's going to be. They've determined it's going to be deep in the Georgia zone. I'm not sure where else it would have been on that play. Anyway, they're finally ready to get it going here with the faceoff to the left of Nick Newbold. 17:01 remaining in the first period. No score yet, as we are enjoying a nice matchup here in the Collegiate Hockey Federation. Niagara winning control of the faceoff, but it comes back to the blue line. Brady Knopf unable to maintain that blue line. He circles back into the neutral zone, then dumps it right back into the Georgia zone. Purple Eagles tagging up, now putting on some forecheck pressure. Georgia doing a good job to get away from that pressure, and now through the neutral zone, this is Dylan Spicer. Make sure it gets deep into the offensive zone where his man knocks down a defenseman, but Niagara finding possession of it there on the far side. And now this is going to be Chris Staldy carrying it through the neutral zone. Wojciechowski now gains the red line, dumps it in, almost hits an opponent in the helmet. Now a one-on-one battle for that puck in the far corner. Picked up there by Scanlon, gets it back to the point where Brady Knopf just dumps it down into the corner. Nice looking play there, as connecting on a pass to Chad Moore there on the doorstep. Almost quickly got it right back out in front for a scoring opportunity. Knopf at the right point, keeping it in, takes a little bit of a bump for his troubles, but make sure he gets it down below the hash marks. Georgia, though, finding possession of that puck and now looking to get it out of the zone on the near side. Martin's pass then goes into a crowd, however, and now it's going to be an opportunity to get a shot in on goal. Moore's shot going just wide. It comes back to the point. Niagara doing a good job. Here's some offensive zone time. Eventually, though, that is relieved as Gannon carries it into the neutral zone, gains the red line, then dumps it in. Wojciechowski moving it back in the opposite direction. Up ice to Riddle. He's got two men on him quickly. Good defense there in the neutral zone by the Bulldogs. Now they look to counter and come back in the other direction, but that pass is going to be a little bit out of the reach of Maurer. And we'll have an icing call on the play. A little bit less than 5 minutes into the action here as we await our first goal in this contest.
And Georgia on that last Niagara possession really had a bit of trouble trying to exit their own zone. 2 or 3 times they would flip it back to the point, but Niagara was in position on offense and able to flip it back around the boards and try and set up some more opportunities. And then after the icing, they're back down in the Georgia end.
Maurer and Ethan Knopf on this draw. Knopf, the leading scorer from the Purple Eagles last year. Seems that his roster and the team that's around him has a little bit more scoring punch than they did last season. And they did a good job of putting the puck in the net last year. Should be interesting to see just how much more offensive push can be shown by these Purple Eagles. They put up 11 goals on Friday, so clearly they have the ability to put up goals in bunches. This is Train behind the net looking to start the breakout. Just some soft 1-2-2 pressure, it kind of looks like, from Georgia. Georgia, though, almost creates a loose puck there on the far side, but they get it out into the neutral zone. And now a battle for a loose puck right in front of the scorer's box. Matt Riddle winning that battle eventually, and he dumps it into the offensive zone right in on goal. Newbold sees a charging forechecker there on the play, decides he just wants to cover that one up. So we'll have another offensive zone draw coming up here for Niagara. Neither team really establishing much momentum here so far. There's been a little bit of zone time for each team, but not too many high-grade chances yet.
And this might be one of those games that's decided more on sort of the gritty physical play versus the flashy kind of goal scoring that they might see against an inferior opponent when they're so evenly matched. It's going to take the little things and the small effort plays to scrape out an edge.
Face off to the left of Newbold. Georgia winning control off the draw and getting it off the boards and into the neutral zone, but DiMatteo sending it right back in, getting a little bit of help on that play from one of his forwards, and then making sure that they get it deep in the zone. Ryan Militello making sure it got deep there on that play. Puck comes up ice. That one is knocked off of a Georgia stick, but eventually some help comes in on the play, and Eberle gets it up ice. Then dumped into the offensive zone by Punzenberger. Now Georgia looking to set up some pressure. Good work by Niagara to connect on one pass. Now a little bit of difficulty there on the far side as two different Georgia players are surrounding one of the Niagara defensemen. Comes back to the point. Shot coming in from that left point. It looked like it got deflected late, but just hit the side of the net. Gutman getting a piece of that one on its way through. Burnett unable to maintain the zone there at the left point. And now comes back into the neutral zone where Leighton Poole sends it back into the offensive zone. Number 10 Poole was one of the more impressive players in our game on Friday, as he was a force from the back end for his Georgia Bulldogs in their 4-3 win over Buff State. Niagara now here into the offensive zone as they try to find possession of it behind the net. 2-on-1 battle for that loose puck, as it's just Luke Cross in there for Niagara. Eventually, though, it's going to be Georgia coming out with it. And now an opportunity to carry it through the neutral zone. Eberle with the puck on his stick. Gets it into the offensive zone and then spins towards the boards where he takes a hit. Niagara finding possession, and now DiMatteo looking to start the breakout. Just a little bit out of his reach, though, and it's Whitwer keeping it in. But a good play, Marcus Bratton lifting his stick and getting control of that puck. Now he skates it through the neutral zone. Bratton settles it down, just kind of softly dumps it in on goal. Looks for a rebound opportunity that might have been there for him. Newbold quickly covering that one up before Bratton could get there. So another offensive zone draw coming up here for Niagara.
We've seen that a few times. Niagara really not hesitant at all to send the puck on that. Not necessarily high-quality chances, pretty far out, blue line or even neutral zone, but I think their strategy so far has just been trying to spend as much time in the Niagara zone and make Newbold cover the puck up as much as possible.
Zach Briggs winning that faceoff, getting it back to Brady Knopf, but that shot goes high and wide off the glass. And now here's a chance for Bartow to get it out of the zone. Gains the red line, but takes a big hit there from behind and just barely gets it over the blue line. Marcus Bratton picking it up there and just feeding it into center ice. Sent right back in by William Martin. And now a little bit more pressure being put on here by Georgia. That pass stays in the zone. That might have came out of the zone, but it was waved off by the official as it was Whitwer sliding in towards the blue line to kick it with a skate. Ends up back in the Niagara offensive zone as Briggs tries to find a man in front. Comes back to Wojciechowski. Digs that puck out of his skates. Now has a chance to get a shot through. Nice block there as it was Jack Gannon getting in the way of his fellow number 4. Picked up there by Whitwer as he looks to move it up ice for the Bulldogs. His pass is a little bit out of the reach of Bigda as Bigda and Knopf collide right in front of the Purple Eagles bench. Puck ends up going into that Purple Eagles bench, so another stoppage in play with 12:24 remaining here in the first. Still no score yet between the Purple Eagles and Georgia Bulldogs.
And it looks like we have a penalty against Georgia. Matt Bigda heading to the box.
That was what the call was, that whistle being blown there. It was Matt Bigda getting signaled for a penalty. Wasn't sure exactly what the call was there, but we're going to see an opportunity for this Niagara power play, and we've been talking about how they have maybe a little bit extra offensive boost this year with some of the new recruits that they've brought in. Get to see what they can do with a 5-on-4 chance here. Looks like we have a face-off warning being issued there as it's going to be Conway on for the draw for Niagara. Squaring off against Scanlon there. Conway ends up finding control of it, but he can't get it out of the zone. Scanlon keeping it in. Maybe a 2-on-1 down low. Good defense by Martin to get in the way of that pass.
I like the idea, though.
Yes, good play there at the point to make sure it stays in. This is Briggs at the left point. Gets it back to the midpoint to Brady Knopf. He looks for a shooting lane. Nothing there. And then over to Briggs again. They set up that umbrella look here on the power play as they work it around the perimeter. That shot comes through, but a good block by Jack Gannon. Niagara, though, keeping possession of it here in the near corner. Back to the midpoint to Brady Knopf. Down low and a one-time shot. That one misses just wide, but a lot on that one as teeing up that slap shot was Kroll. Puck on the far side of the offensive zone. Chad Moore with it here, and then he gets it down low. Gets that one to Kroll, and then the shot comes in from Briggs. Save made by Newbold. Minute 11 now remaining in the power play. Puck comes back to the point. Another narrow keep there from Brady Knopf. He had to be quick with the stick to keep that one from getting across the blue line. Right in the aftermath, though, Georgia able to get the clear. Get 4 fresh skaters out there to kill off this penalty.
We've already seen Georgia get down on their knees and block a few shots, I think 2 or 3 times already. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with the small things, the gritty plays that it takes to beat a team like Niagara.
DiMatteo gets it into the offensive zone where he drops a pass off for Ethan Knopf. This is now Cook at the left point, steps around one man, has a chance to get a shot in on goal. Nice little bit of creativity to get that opportunity to let a shot go. A save was made by Newbold as it was Case Cook looking to add to his totals already this year. He's got 3 goals from the back end. He's one of those players that is going to have to be marked by the Georgia defenders. Cook again with a good play there to keep it in at the midpoint. Gets it to DiMatteo, and now DiMatteo with a chance out in front. His little give-and-go look there with Ethan Knopf. Good save by Newbold as he's been tested a couple times here on this power play. Niagara getting that setup look again. Getting a shot come from the bottom of the circle by Riddle. Save made again by Riddle on that play, or by Newbold on that play as the last couple of seconds tick away in the Georgia penalty. Bulldogs back to full strength, but an opportunity to get a shot in on goal there from Knopf. Good defense again, another block there down low. Georgia defenders doing a good job sacrificing the body to make sure that there is no shot in on goal, protecting their goalie as much as they can.
Very strong penalty kill from Georgia, and Niagara got a few attempts off, but they were not from high-quality spaces on the ice. Nothing really from the low slot or up close. Most of the shots were from tight angles or from far away, and the Georgia defense did a nice job there shorthanded.
Yeah, I think a lot to build off from both sides on that power play. A very effective penalty kill from the Georgia perspective. Niagara, though, did a good job of setting up in the offensive zone. A lot to build and grow off of from that if they get another opportunity on the power play, which I would only expect to happen as we are still much of this game, 2.5 periods still left to go. No score yet here as we approach the 10-minute mark of period number 1. A little bit of physicality being ramped up as that was Blake Train laying the shoulder into his man here in the offensive zone for Georgia. Train lets another hit go, that one on Punzenberger. Ends up getting the puck off of him and now looks to move it up ice for his team. Just kind of floats it there through the neutral zone. Ends up being picked up by the Georgia defense. They go D to D quickly and then up ice to Gutman. Gutman's pass, those intercepted, and now it's going to be Niagara looking to counter. Arver moving it up ice, getting it into the offensive zone. Now Moore is chasing it down there in the corner. Sorry, that is Mandia. Collision there on the far boards as it's going to be Gutman finding control of it. Takes a little bit of a hook there. Penalty is going to be called as reaching in with the stick was Robbie Arver, number 33. So we had one penalty already on Georgia, and now we have the return trip to the box from the Niagara Purple Eagles as it is a hooking call against number 33, Robbie Arver.
Well, it only took about a minute, and you mentioned it. We're going to be seeing plenty more power plays tonight. Now Georgia gets their first chance with the man advantage, and a nice momentum shift for them, able to kill off the Niagara penalty, played even strength for a minute or so, and now going back down the ice with their chance to try and break this tie.
Yeah, that's one of those penalties that's not going to make Niagara coach Sean Casilio very happy. Coaches never like to see their guys taking penalties in the offensive zone when you're 150 feet plus away from your net. Not a whole lot of reason to be pulling on a guy with the stick, but that's what happened there. And Niagara's now going to have to kill off a penalty of their own here as we are approaching the 9-minute mark of the first period. Along the Niagara blue line, they get it across the blue line. Now Mazzaros gets it back into the slot. Bigda coming in with some speed. His shot just missing the near post. Wojciechowski going to get a chance to get it out, but it's kept in by Gannon at the left post, at the left point. And then we have another penalty being called here. This one's going to go against Georgia, I think, as a player hit there in the corner. A roughing call being signaled, so it's going to be a very short power play for Georgia. Not even a little bit more than 30 seconds is all they got to enjoy with the man advantage, as heading to the penalty box with the roughing penalty is going to be number 29, Declan Conway.
Georgia making the same mistake like you just mentioned, on the attack in the offensive zone, on the power play, and they still commit a penalty in the corner. It's just not the type of disciplined play you expect to see from a team ranked so high. Yeah,
it looked like two players just kind of got tied up in the corner. The Georgia player gave an additional little shot there, and the referee was about 3 feet away. Pretty easy call for him to make in that case. And it's now 4-on-4 for the next minute 25. Always interested to see which team 4-on-4 play favors, that extra little bit of ice that's available out there. Defenseman Jack Gannon, he's going to be looking to take advantage of that. He likes to jump up in the play, makes that pass up ice where he has Bigda. Bigda gets it in behind the net, but the Niagara goaltender moving it up ice quickly. Mazzaros now driving in towards the net. Tough angle shot. Save was made there by LaSalle. Now LaSalle has to throw the glove hand over top of that one, as there were 3 different Georgia players in tight looking for a rebound opportunity. LaSalle with his first couple of tests here so far. Decent opportunity there from along the goal line here on the near side. See if Georgia continue to ramp up some of that pressure here as we have 59 seconds left in 4-on-4.
Pretty nice work so far from LaSalle. Hasn't been forced to work too much, but he's looked comfortable in that, taking up a lot of space.
Already played 2 games already this weekend, picking up the win on Friday against Niagara County Community College. His head coach, Sean Casilio's, liked the way he's looked in net. Had made him decide that he earned another start here today. And that's number 1, Josh LaSalle in net for the Niagara Purple Eagles. Still 4-on-4 for another 35 seconds as Leighton Poole carries it through the neutral zone. He's got some speed. Now he gets it around the one defender, gives him a little bit of a shove to create a little bit more space. Now as another man right on him, it comes back to the point. This could be a dangerous play for Niagara. 2-on-1 setting up here. Riddle into the offensive zone. Tries to get that pass across, but really good defense as back-checking hard on that play to make that defensive play was Punzenberger. That was a 2-on-1 until Punzenberger used his speed to get back there and tie up the man in front. Continuing for another 7 seconds of 4-on-4. It's dumped right in on net by Mazzaro. Mazzaro's looking for maybe a streaking forward to possibly get to it before it got to the netminder. Lascelles just covers that one up. As now just 4 seconds remaining in the original penalty. Then it's going to be an abbreviated power play coming up for the Niagara Purple Eagles.
That was a fantastic play down on the other end by Punzenberger. Not only using his speed to get back in the play and cover up the pass, but also to knock the puck out of the air with his stick. The hand-eye coordination and just effort on that play was very impressive.
So the face-off is going to be to the left of Lascelles, and it's going to be Ethan Knopf winning it cleanly for the Purple Eagles. They try to get that pass all the way up to the player coming out of the box, maybe just a half a second too quick. As Niagara makes a couple of changes and gets the 5 players that they want out there here for this power play. 21 seconds, though, only remaining in this abbreviated power play as Wojciechowski carries it out of his own zone. A couple of players colliding there in the neutral zone as Riddle tries to let a shot go from the top of the circle. Defenseman getting a piece of that one, keeping it from getting all the way through. That was Hogan getting the block. And Georgia does a good job of clearing the zone there as the last 3 seconds now ticking away in the penalty. As Niagara looks to counter and move it back up ice. Wojciechowski getting it across the red line, dumping it in. Now putting some pressure on the defenseman himself. Campbell, though, lays a hit on him and then ends up playing it up ice from his knees. But Georgia unable to get it out there. Brady Knopf again coming in from his point position to make sure it stays in the zone. Georgia finds possession in that far corner. Now a chance to carry it up ice for Hogan. Hogan just gains the red line, dumps it in, and heads to the bench for a change. 3 new skaters coming out here for Georgia, as just 2 players in the offensive zone. Still pretty effective, though, in putting some pressure on Niagara defenders. Niagara with possession of it, though. Banking it off the boards was Zach Briggs. Can't get it out of the zone, though. On the first opportunity, the second chance, he does carry it through the neutral zone. Lets a shot go from distance. Good stick on puck there from Luke Burnett to make sure that one doesn't get in on net. Ends up being deflected up and out of play, so 6:05 remains here in the period. Still waiting for that first goal. Both teams kind of testing out each other's defenses and waiting for that one golden opportunity. Niagara almost had one there with the 2-on-1, but real strong defensive play by the Georgia forward to come back.
Both teams have really struggled to get a step on any type of opportunities. It's been very much a tightly contested, like literally tightly contested players all over each other.
Briggs with a little bit of space there to get a shot through. He was right about the hash marks. Maybe it rolled on him just a little bit there. It didn't quite get the shot away that I think he was looking for. Ends up going off the arm of the goaltender, then up and out of play. So again, another offensive zone draw coming up here for the Purple Eagles. Again, Briggs on the faceoff, and he'll be squaring off against Declan Conway from Georgia.
And that's the area that I think Niagara wants to shoot from, that circle or the high slot, but struggling to get through the Georgia defense.
Yeah, pretty tight coverage in the defensive zone from both teams so far. Haven't been really giving much inches at all. There's a shot coming in from the right point. DiMatteo letting a good low wrist shot go. Newbold had to be sharp to make that stop. Now Conway tries to get it through the neutral zone for the Bulldogs, but he loses control of it to Briggs. Niagara captain goes cross ice to Train and then through the neutral zone and into the Georgia end. No icing here on this play as Zachary Puma goes back for it. Can't get that pass around behind the net. That allows Cristaldi to pick it up and make sure it keeps moving here in the offensive zone. DiMatteo comes in from his point position to keep it in. Now he gloves it down and keeps it in the offensive zone yet again. But finding that possession is going to be Mazzaros. He gets it up to Conway. Conway across the blue line, but good defense. DiMatteo with the poke check getting him off of that puck. Moore now in the other direction. Lets a shot go from in between the top of the circle and the blue line. Glove save made by Newbold. He holds on for yet another face-off and another whistle here in the Niagara offensive zone. Seems that is the strategy from Newbold. Anytime he has an opportunity, he's covering that puck up, trying to slow down maybe the speed of Niagara.
I think you're right. And right there, Niagara, they came in with speed, but I think Georgia's prepared for it. They really sat back. Martin on defense there was leaving a cushion between himself and the skater, forcing them to shoot from a little bit more distance. And then, like you mentioned, Newbold not hesitating to close that glove.
The competition between the Georgia goaltenders this weekend has certainly been notable. We talked about how the the starter last night, Ryan Testino, making 50-plus saves in that game. Newbold was excellent in the win against Buffalo State on Friday, so the two of them maybe have a nice little competition going on in their goalie room in terms of which player will have the better impact for his team. Georgia almost with an opportunity. A bouncing puck couldn't quite be settled down by Spicer. And now it's going to be LaSalle starting the breakout for his team, getting it to Cook. Cook's pass is too far for its intended target in the neutral zone, and Gannon has it along his blue line. Moore, though, intercepting his pass and dumping it into the offensive zone. Martin's going to have a little bit of time and space to start it up ice as Niagara's making a change. Pass is unable to be accepted there by Whitwer, and then Niagara sends it right back into the offensive zone as we come up on 4:15 to play in the first period. Niagara with a little bit of a sloppy change there. Player coming onto the ice smartly avoiding the puck. Georgia almost with a chance to counter quickly, but good defense as it was Cook getting his shoulder into the player Whitwer. Whitwer slid it behind him but couldn't get to the puck after it was the good little hit there from Cook in the mid-slot. Gutman taking the puck off of the man's stick, and he has it gets it out in front of the net, just couldn't quite connect on his pass with Eberle. This is probably the most sustained zone time from Georgia so far. Eberle gets in the way of a pass there in the bottom of the circle. Gets it back to the point to Gannon. Gannon with the lane. That one gets redirected. Just misses the far post wide as LaSalle had to track that one to how it changed directions. Penalty coming up here to Niagara as that shot comes from distance. Gutman getting it on goal. Collision there along the goal line as eventually the Niagara player touches the puck up. And we have the penalty being signaled here against the Niagara Purple Eagles, as well as a conversation going on between one of the Georgia players and the referee. It's an animated conversation as well. The referee seemed to have some strong words for the Georgia player heading to the bench, and now he's continuing the conversation there at the Georgia bench, talking with the head coach, John Camp, as well as the assistant. I'd be interested to know what that message was.
That was probably Georgia's best possession. They forced a few turnovers, got a couple nice shots off, and the line of Gannon, Gutman, and Punzenberger working pretty well there together.
And they get to enjoy an offensive zone draw on the power play here with 3:27 to go in the first period. Conway on for the draw, but Niagara winning possession, sending it down the ice. Brady Knopf making sure it gets all the way back down into the Georgia zone to kill off the first 7 seconds of the penalty. Leighton Poole starting it up ice for Georgia now. Soft pass across the ice, and now Poole has it back on his stick, gets it across the red line, just dumps it into the offensive zone. Conway quickly on that one. Mazzaros and Conway putting pressure on Knopf here against the near boards, and Georgia finds possession. Getting that power play set up here as it's going to be Hagen at the point. Shot coming in from the left point. That's a one-timer let go there by Leighton Poole, right in on goal, and a good solid stop made as LaSalle has been tested just a little bit more here as the period has gone on. Good passing along the perimeter there by Georgia, but a shot block there as it was DiMatteo leaving his feet to make sure Mazzaro's shot didn't get through. Poole's shot now from the midpoint, hits a body on its way through. That one just missed the post wide. Georgia keeping it set up here in the offensive zone. Poole's shot from the point, hits the goaltender in the pad. A rebound is there. It looked like it hit a Georgia player in the back as Conway was trying to get that second opportunity. And then it looks like Conway is going to take a frustration penalty in the aftermath as away from the puck he ends up knocking down Brady Knopf. So again, it's a shortened Georgia power play. So with 51 seconds remaining on that power play, it's going to be Conway taking the penalty for the Bulldogs. So now we get back to a little bit of 4-on-4 play.
And a really unfortunate error there for Georgia. That was some of the best play they've had all day. Mazzaros and Conway really putting the pressure on, keeping the puck in the zone at the point, generating some awesome chances, really making LaSalle work. And now Conway, who's tied for second in points on the team, is going to head to the box when they still could have had another 51 seconds with the advantage. It's really just an unforced error. Yeah,
it was kind of a one-on-one battle for a loose puck there. Knopf got the better of it and then was trying to clear it out of the zone, didn't get it past the Georgia defenseman. I can imagine there being a little bit of frustration seeing the player taking the late hit penalty as a result in that when they were still going to maintain the zone. Georgia, though, does win the faceoff in their own end, and they get to enjoy a little bit of possession and now look to work it up ice. Gannon here up the left wing. He's got a little bit of space to move it through the neutral zone as we have 35 seconds of 4-on-4 play remaining. Puck comes back into the slot. Mazzaros with a hard wrist shot there. Looked like it hit a skate just off to the side of the net as a good opportunity being set up by the Georgia Bulldogs playing 4-on-4. Mazzaros behind the net, setting up camp there. Gets it along to Bigda, and Bigda tries to circle and get it back towards the point, but 2 Niagara players quickly on him. Purple Eagles coming back with some numbers now. Pass comes across, Moore from a tough angle, good save, as sliding across to make that stop was Newbold with the right arm. Good opportunity from in tight, as it was Chad Moore looking for his fourth of the season, and we're going to get yet another penalty called here in the aftermath, as it looks like it's going to be another Georgia player heading to the penalty box. Yes, it's number 17 heading to the box. That is Matt Bigda. So this is going to be we're going to have 7 seconds now remaining of what will be 4-on-3 play. And then Niagara is going to enjoy quite a little bit of time here with a 5-on-3. It'll be a minute 10 of 5-on-3 hockey.
Another penalty for Bigda, and it's kind of a trend already. I've noticed that the top scorers for Georgia also appear to be the top penalty takers, which is a bit of an interesting trend, and I don't know if that's going to bode well for them. At
least so far here in the early going. Niagara unable to maintain the zone there as they had just a couple times moments left in the 4-on-3. Now 5-on-3 as Brady Knopf has it at the midpoint. Gets it across to Moore. Now back to Knopf. Briggs here at the near dot looking for that cross-ice pass. Eventually gets it back to Briggs. Shot then taken as it was Moore there on the doorstep letting that one-timer go. They've been looking to set that one up on both of their power play opportunities. Moore has it again. Back to Knopf. He lets that shot go. He had a screen in front, just missed the net wide. Opportunity to find possession for Georgia, but they're unable to do so as Puma got knocked off of that puck. 35 seconds now remaining in the 5-on-3. Briggs with a chance to let a shot go. Lets it go from the dot, and it beats Newbold high glove. It's 1-0 Niagara.
Only a matter of time before they broke through, especially in the 5-on-3 with the way this power play moves the puck left and right, forcing Newbold to slide back and forth, and eventually Briggs had enough of a window, shot it over the glove side, and they're still going to have another minute and 17 with the man advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if they got another one across.
50 seconds now remaining in the period, so just a little bit more time left in the first to add to that, but it will be a 5-on-4 period of time here for the Niagara Purple Eagles as they get their second power play unit out there for the remaining period of this power play. Zach Briggs, the captain of the Niagara Purple Eagles, getting on the board and giving his team the early lead. We had been waiting the entire period for the game's first goal, and eventually it was the captain, Zach Briggs, getting his second of the season and 5th point in 3 games. So 26 seconds remaining in the period as Georgia finds possession. Spicer sending it down the ice. Going to be enough time for at least one last rush here for the Purple Eagles. Cook gets it across to DiMatteo. DiMatteo up ice where he finds Riddle just outside the blue line. Drops it off to Thomason. And now we have a whistle being blown here as we have a couple of penalties being doled out here. Looks like one aside is going to go here on this play. It's going to be Whitwer heading to the penalty box for Georgia, and then Ethan Knopf for Niagara. I'm not sure what exactly happened there. Something behind the play, maybe in the neutral zone. I don't know if you caught an eye on that at all, Ryan.
I didn't. I'm checking the replay right now to see if there's anything on there.
Yeah, it just ended up kind of behind the play, and saw maybe a couple of players running into each other, probably just kind of continuing it for a couple moments more than the referee wanted to see. So one of those kind of warning penalties late in the period, try to establish a little bit of control in a game that has kind of had the penalties piling up as the first has gone on. Nice move there by Cook as he stepped around his man again. We've seen him do that a couple of times coming in from his point position. And that shot then getting blocked on its way through is going to be the last play then of the first period, as period number 1 comes to a close, but a very entertaining first period of play, as it is the Niagara Purple Eagles getting a goal within the last minute to give themselves a 1-0 lead heading into the locker room, and it was Zach Briggs getting the goal on the power play to make this a 1-0 game.
And I'd say at even strength, this was about as closely matched as it could have been, but Georgia shot themselves in the foot a couple of times, killed their momentum when they were on the power play, eventually ended up shorthanded, and when that happened, Niagara took advantage.
Appreciate you joining us here on the Nickel City Hockey Network as we bring you live coverage of the Upstate New York Collegiate Hockey League, and our coverage is presented by Buffalo Golf and Social, Western New York's leading indoor golf facility. Simulators, lessons, leagues, Buffalo Golf and Social is the area's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. And with great beer and wine selection, it's also the perfect place to sit and watch golf with others who love the game. Locations downtown and in Orchard Park. Book your next event at Buffalo Golf and Social. This broadcast also brought to you by Militello Realty. Western New York's premier commercial real estate broker. To buy, sell, or lease any office, industrial, retail, or investment property, trust the unparalleled knowledge and experience of Militello Realty. Broadcast also brought to you by Envious Gameware, designers of custom hockey uniforms, bags, and apparel. Find them online, enviousgameware.com, and by 412 Communications, the new gold standard in digital media solutions. We've got one period of play in the books. After 20 minutes of play, it is the Niagara Purple Eagles with a 1-0 lead, getting the power play goal late in the first period. That's how period number 1 will come to a conclusion. We're going to step away here for about 10 minutes, but we will rejoin you for period number 2 right here on the Nickel City Hockey Network. And welcome back inside Dwyer Arena on the campus of Niagara University. as we are getting set for second period play between Niagara and the University of Georgia. Niagara enjoying a 1-0 lead. After 20 minutes of play, it was a late power play goal scored by Zach Briggs with just 50 seconds remaining in the period, and that is what has given the Niagara Purple Eagles the 1-0 lead here in this CHF contest. Thank you so much for joining us on the Nickel City Hockey Network as we bring you live coverage of the Upstate New York Collegiate Hockey League. Good afternoon, my name's Aaron Elpern alongside Ryan Tantalo for the call of today's game. And an entertaining first period, both teams kind of trying to feel each other out, determine where each other's weaknesses were. And not a whole lot of weaknesses, certainly from the defensive standpoint, as both teams were keeping it very tight in their own zones.
Both teams sharp on defense, and both goaltenders extremely sharp, and they came in, I think, with a little bit of momentum throughout the weekend, a couple of nice performances from both of these guys. Josh Lassell picked up his first victory in 2 years for Niagara the other night against NCCC. And then for Georgia, their goaltender Newbold won against Buffalo State. And then they have another goaltender who's backing up tonight, or not even dressed, in Testino, who had a great performance. So a lot of depth on display and a lot of really just two great teams and evenly matched teams going at it, trying to, I guess, establish themselves in the CHF as powerhouses.
Yeah, both of these schools made appearances last year at the CHF National Tournament in Philadelphia. Neither team, though, advanced out of preliminary play, each team falling in one of their preliminary games. They both went 2-1, but unable to advance to the quarterfinals. So we know that both teams kind of have that date at the end of the calendar circled, trying to get back to nationals and make a further run in the national tournament that they did last season. Early season tests like this one, a good way to get themselves ready for that end of season competition. We're underway here in second period play. Again, appreciate you joining us for our coverage today and our coverage of UNYCHL hockey presented by Buffalo Golf and Social, Western New York's leading indoor golf facility. Niagara with possession of the puck. They still have a little bit of a power play remaining from period number 1. The last 7 seconds ticking away here on the power play. Has a little bit of difficulty with a pass there. Now an opportunity in the other direction. Conway, it's got a 2-on-1. Tries to make one move, gets that pass across, and it's in the net. Bigda with the goal after he comes out of the penalty box. Gets it up under the bar. A really nicely set up play there in transition. And Georgia has tied the game up less than a minute into the second period.
That line of Conway and Bigda has been knocking on the door all night, and I think that's really their bread and butter, is when Bigda's crashing the net and sort of gets either those rebound opportunities or the centering passes, this time on a 2-on-1, and able to finish very strong with a little bit of pressure coming on all sides.
Yeah, that was a play inside the Niagara offensive zone where the defenseman just had a little bit of difficulty handling it, ended up almost overskating it, and that gave Georgia a chance to get it up ice quickly. They made sure they used their speed to get that into the offensive zone, and then a beautiful setup by Declan Conway. Great patience to draw what I believe was going to be a penalty. I'm not sure if it's still going to be assessed then. This is what I believe the conversation between the officials here is, determine whether or not it's going to be 4 or 5 Niagara players out there after this faceoff. Conversation now continuing over there at the Niagara bench. Pretty sure that's what the rule here is. If there's a delayed penalty, the goal doesn't negate it in CHF play. So here comes Militello off the ice for Niagara. I believe that it's going to end up being a 5-on-4 once we get going here again. But I'm not going to be too certain about that quite yet. We'll have to see exactly what we get here when play continues. But the key point here of the story, it's Matt Bigda tying this game up at 1. We expected an entertaining affair throughout. Both teams treated us to a great first period. Now Georgia has gotten the equalizer to start off the second.
And I'm not surprised that Georgia came out firing once they got back to even strength, especially because throughout the first period they were close, and I think they were getting comfortable feeling out Niagara, like you've mentioned a few times, and maybe that is a weakness that they talked about during the intermission, crashing the net a little bit more and trying to get up in the face of Lassell, and that time going top shelf was Bigda.
Yeah, we had both teams being very careful in that first period not to make any mistakes, really, and that might have been the first mistake that we've seen in this game. Ends up resulting in a Georgia goal. They tie it up, take advantage, and now they get the chance on the power play. Bigda into the offensive zone as he gets the power play set up. He's looking to add to his totals. He scored on Friday as well. Now it's going to be Poole cycling it around behind the net where he finds Bigda up against the near boards. Good pressure there as getting out into the play was Luke Cross. Unable to get it out of the zone, however, as now Gannon sets up the power play. Cross to Poole. Poole back to Gannon at the midpoint. Steps in, lets a shot go. It got redirected on its way there. Conway got a little bit of it on its way through, but couldn't quite get it on net. Georgia keeps possession with 1:20 to go in their power play. Gannon across to Poole. Poole lets a shot go. Stick save made by LaSalle, and the rebound comes out back to the point where Gannon gets that power play set up yet again. He's got Bigda at the left boards. Bigda then down low where he's got Mazzaros. Mazzaros tries to find Conway in front of the net, but it's going to be LaSalle grabbing that one with the glove hand, holding on for a whistle. Niagara has killed off 56 seconds of this penalty so far.
And that top line of Mazzaros, Bigda, Conway heading to the bench, the second power play unit coming out for the second minute of the power play for Georgia. So interesting to see how they respond and how much depth they have on this man advantage.
This is going to be Eberle taking the draw for Georgia. On the other side, it's going to be number 13, Logan Scanlon. Scanlon winning the draw, kind of a scramble for that loose puck. Gutman in the corner trying to dig it out. Goes up into the protective netting just over top of the glass, and the referee blows the play dead. A little bit of a stop and start portion of the game here so far. 57 seconds still remaining on that Georgia power play.
Penalties have been the story of the game, no doubt so far.
It was pretty even, as we saw in the first period when they were playing 5-on-5. That little bit of an advantage has been picked up here with the power play time. Now Georgia getting it set up here in the offensive zone. Punzenberger against the near boards. Looking for a pass or a shooting lane. He's got two different Niagara players keeping a close eye on him. Gets it out to Burnett. Now Punzenberger tries to get that one-timer off. Maybe just a little bit misaligned in terms of getting enough stick on that one. Niagara clears the zone, maybe have an opportunity with numbers, just a little bit too far out of Scanlon's reach. It kind of rolled on him. Now it comes back into the neutral zone, 24 seconds remaining on the Niagara penalty. Burnett slowly carrying it out of his own zone. Soft pressure here from Niagara as they retreat back into the neutral zone. Abbott comes up at his point position to kind of deny that zone entry. That allows Niagara to get that puck cleared and basically have killed off most of this penalty. Just 5 seconds remaining to see if there can be one last rush here from Georgia before the penalty expires. Gutman across the blue line. Georgia almost offsides there. Gutman now chasing in behind the net. Abbott starts it up the near boards. No player there to accept that pass, though. Eventually, DiMatteo picks it up, moves it into the neutral zone, and now Riddle putting some pressure on the defenseman here. Riddle's the first one to it in the far corner, looking for a backhand pass and a trailer coming in on the play. Just couldn't quite get it to Ethan Knopf. Knopf, though, is going to find a loose puck there on the far side. Effective hit there from Kroll to knock his man off of it. And now a little bit of zone time set up here. Riddle letting a shot go, but a good stick on puck there as Burnett got in the way of that one. Puck goes up into the protective netting. 16:54 now remaining in the second period. It's a 1-1 hockey game, and we're back to 5-on-5 play now.
And a block shot there from Georgia, continuing the trend that we saw throughout the first period, especially when they're at even strength. They're doing a very nice job of matching up one-on-one and covering bodies, making sure the pucks don't make their way to Nick Newbold in net.
Continuation of what they did on Friday night. We saw that in the game against Buffalo State. They did a good job sacrificing the body, make sure they got in the shooting lanes, protect their goaltender as much as they possibly can. Georgia finding possession right off of the faceoff. Spicer carrying it into the offensive zone. Takes a little bit of a stick check there, but refines possession and fires a shot in on goal. There was a rebound there for a brief second, but LaSalle able to cover it up before any of the Georgia players were able to get a hold of it. And now we have another faceoff coming up in the offensive zone here for Georgia, as maybe both goaltenders are deciding they want to see the game slowed down a little bit. Both of them been quick to cover it up here so far tonight. Yeah,
LaSalle had a little bit of trouble with that one, but made sure he got his glove on top of it. And when you have players crashing the net, it's very dangerous. I think both these offenses know that they can capitalize on rebounds.
Yeah, it was one of those plays where the shot maybe caught LaSalle a little off guard because it looked like the Georgia player didn't really have possession of it, still managed to find control and quickly get it in on net. Good of LaSalle to make sure he was in the proper position, even if he wasn't quite ready to accept that shot. Still made the save and then got it covered up for no rebound. Niagara with possession of it here in the neutral zone. Dumped into the offensive end by Moore. And Newbold sets it up for his defenseman, but it's a Niagara player quickly to it. This is Ethan Knopf. Tries to get that one out in front. He had a man on the doorstep, just couldn't get it all the way out in front. Spicer takes it off of a Niagara player and then moves it up ice. This is Whitwer carrying it across the red line into the offensive zone. Takes a hit there, maybe kind of ducks underneath the worst of that hit. And now Ethan Knopf looking to move it up ice for the Purple Eagles. Long pass, that one connects in the neutral zone. Chad Moore across the blue line, drops it to Thomason, but his shot is blocked as he couldn't quite get that one away. Good defense again, as Georgia making sure they've done this throughout this game tonight, making sure there's only a little bit of time and a little bit of space for their opponents.
Yeah, that was a nice back check there by Bigda to get in the way of that shooting lane and get the puck back to neutral ice.
That's 3 or 4 times already that we've seen a Georgia forward coming back effectively on that back check. Now they get it into the offensive zone, and a good hard wrist shot let go there by Declan Conway. An equally good glove save by Josh Lascelles. Lascelles holds on for a whistle. 15:22 now to go in the second period, as it's a 1-1 tie between Georgia and Niagara.
And I feel like so far this period, Georgia's gotten off more shots, more high-quality opportunities, and they forced Lascelles to be a little bit more active in that, which you wonder how that's going to affect this Niagara defense.
Well, Niagara started off the period with a power play, but it was quickly negated by a quick play and a goal in the other direction. Now it's a long stretch pass through the neutral zone. Bratton accepting it and carrying it into the offensive zone. He's looking for a cross-ice pass. He's got a couple men in front of the net. Eventually gets it to Wojciechowski at the left point. That shot through a crowd looked like it hit a skate before getting to Newbold. Good save on the play to keep this one a 1-1 game, and the puck comes slowly back into Niagara territory now. Brady Knopf carrying it up the far side of the ice, gets it up to Briggs, the Niagara goal scorer. He drops it for Bratton. Bratton fakes a shot, then gets it to Briggs in front of the net. Redirection shot right in on goal, and a save by Newbold. That was a tough save to make, as Briggs got a stick on it, probably about 3 feet right in front of the goal crease, and it changed directions a couple of feet as well. Newbold clearly on top of his game here today.
That was a very nice setup there by Niagara. Bratton kind of hesitated, looked like he was maybe going to shoot, then dumped it off to Briggs, who was crashing the net. He tried a deflection and then ended up attempting to bat it out of the air with a high stick, so the refs will move it back to neutral ice.
Center ice face-off right in front of the Niagara bench. Scanlon winning that draw cleanly for the Purple Eagles. Niagara sends it right into the offensive zone. Georgia, though, quickly relieving some of that pressure and getting it up ice. But it's going to be more finding possession of it again, sending it right back into the Georgia end. This is the defenseman Campbell starting the breakout. Finds a man up the right wing, but it's kept in at the far point by Cook. His shot gets deflected wide. Now Leighton Poole trying to move it up ice. His pass a little bit too far for his intended target. Niagara keeps it in yet again. Johns taking a hit as he plays the puck around behind the net. Georgia struggling to get the puck out of their zone. Here is Cook, does a good job again to keep it in at the left point. Gets it across to DiMatteo. DiMatteo's shot in on goal. Newbold making the save. Interested to see if we get some new personnel out there from Georgia. Yeah, they're getting 3 new forwards out there.
Niagara with a couple of attempts earlier in that possession when they had a body in front, and I think those are when they've been a little bit more effective. But right there, the shot, Newbold had clear eyes on it and saw it right into his glove, made a pretty routine save.
Scrambled face-off. Let's see who can come out of that pile with possession. Gutman has it up against the boards and just floats it into the neutral zone. Punzenberger trying to chase that one down, but Train is the first one to it. He moves it up ice for Niagara. Ethan Knopf across the blue line, lets a shot go, maybe didn't get all that he wanted on that one, and I think it caught Newbold off guard. That little bit of a changeup gets through the goaltender, and it's a 2-1 hockey game in favor of Niagara.
Absolutely, a changeup or maybe a knuckleball. It came off the stick a little bit strange, kind of, I don't know if it bounced or just wobbled a little bit, and I think Newbold got caught off guard and it snuck by him. A little bit of an unlucky break for the Georgia goaltender, but they all count the same for Niagara, and that gives them the momentum a little bit back in their favor.
Maybe just enough of a screen there that he let that shot go through. Just able to distract Newbold enough to make that a difficult save. It wasn't the type of shot that you would have necessarily expected to result in a goal, but it finds the back of the net. Niagara takes the 2-1 lead. They have control of the puck inside their own zone. Train floats a pass into the neutral zone. He's got Riddle there as he gloves it out of the air, but he had 2 Georgia men quickly on him, keeping him from gloving that one down and getting it into the offensive zone. Kroll can't accept that pass here against the near boards. He's got Campbell on him, causing some difficulty. But if Niagara gets it up ice where Riddle carries it into the offensive zone, he had a man out in front, the goal scorer Ethan Knopf. As unable to find him for the pass, Knopf going for a change, but Niagara keeps it in as Kroll does a good job here on the forecheck. Kroll and Riddle playing catch with it. Now back to the point to Train. D-to-D now as DiMatteo on the far side. In behind the net, now a one-on-one battle for that loose puck. Cross unable to get a hold of it, but it's still kept in the zone. Niagara maintaining possession, camping out here in the offensive zone. Shot coming in from Stumpo there at the point. That one hit a body on its way through. A good block. Georgia again with that shot block. There have been 4 or 5 of them already today. Loose puck just inside the blue line. Militello sidesteps a hit, tries to accept a pass there, just hit a skate as Cross was trying to drop it to him. Train, though, comes in from his point position. That pass was floating there in the goal crease. Looked like it was a Georgia defenseman knocking it out of midair to relieve some of that pressure. Spicer back in the other direction. His shot is blocked. Then he takes a hit behind the net. Now a pile up in front of the net as LaSalle was trying to cover that one up. A Georgia player right there on the doorstep looking for the rebound. Referee blowing the play dead, and not too much continuing after that. That was one of those types of scrambles in front of the net. You have to wonder whether or not it's going to result in pushing, shoving, and extra conversation going on, but it seems that cooler heads have prevailed. But LaSalle's a little bit slow getting back to his skates. He's got his helmet off here.
Yeah, LaSalle kind of got ran into by Mazzaros. I think it was all just in Mazzaros pursuing the play, trying to get that rebound opportunity, which we've seen a few times from Georgia. The puck's up close, and I think that time he just kind of, his momentum carried him through the net, and that play will happen. But LaSalle without his helmet, now on a knee, off of two knees, he's, I think, a little bit closer to getting up. Looks like a trainer's out there.
Niagara trainer out there attending to him, seeing how he's doing. Appears to be, he's giving him a towel. Now that we kind of check over there to the Niagara bench to determine whether or not the backup Ben Randall's going to be getting himself ready to come into this game. As LaSalle has gotten back to his skates, receiving some applause from his teammates around him. Trainer's heading back to the bench, and looks like Josh LaSalle is going to be fine to continue here in this game. Our coverage is presented by Buffalo Golf and Social, Western New York's leading indoor golf facility. Simulators, lessons, leagues, Buffalo Golf and Social is the area's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. And with great beer and wine selections, it's also the perfect place to sit and watch golf with others who love the game. Locations in downtown and in Orchard Park. Book your next event at Buffalo Golf and Social. Puck has been dropped here in the offensive zone for Georgia. Big defending possession of it. Now looking to set up camp here in the offensive zone. Puck comes back to the point. Puma with it here at the left point. Gets it along to Bigda. His shot, though, gets blocked on its way through, and now Abbott's going to have a chance to get it out of the zone. Does manage to do so, getting it just across the blue line. Now maybe a 3-on-2 setting up here if Niagara's quick. Georgia doing a good job getting back on the play. Now they might have some numbers in the opposite direction. Conway to the blue line. He's got a man trailing on the play. Tries to get it back to Burnett, but he can't quite reach that one. As the one player then in front of the net was tied up. That was Mazzaros as he tried to accept that pass. Niagara doing a good job with the defenseman that they had back there on that play. Big finding possession behind the net for Georgia as he cycles it around, getting it to Mazzaros. Burnett deep in the offensive zone from his point position as he's offering some forecheck support there. Mazzaros has it in the near corner, comes back to the point to Zachary Puma, looking for a shooting lane, gets redirected on its way through. Really nice job there by Conway to get a piece of that one. Changed directions, went from a couple feet off the ice to ice level, and as good as that redirection was, you have to give credit to Josh LaSalle for making as quality of a stop on a difficult shot to read.
Extremely difficult shot to read because it bounced down with so much speed, and he had so little time to react because of how close Conway was to the net. And I think Georgia will continue to try and do that. If they set up in front of LaSalle, of course it's going to be harder to make saves, and when they get those deflections, they're extremely difficult to predict where they're going to bounce.
Conversation in the neutral zone between P.J. Abbott and one of the referees. As looks like Abbott is heading to the bench now. This might be an equipment issue. Not entirely sure what the conversation is as the referee continues the chat with Abbott and Coach Casilio there at the Niagara bench. 11 minutes and 18 seconds remaining in the second period. As it's been a very entertaining contest throughout. Niagara got the first goal of the game late in the first period. Georgia with the answer early on in period number 2. But it was Ethan Knopf getting the most recent goal here in this game. A little bit of a change-up type of shot, getting it past the Georgia netminder, and that's our difference here. 2-1 is our score. Finally set to get play back started again. Georgia wins that one, but the shot doesn't get through, and now it's going to be an opportunity for Niagara to get it up ice. This is Riddle. Lets a shot go from the top of the circle. Glove save made by Newbold. As he's done throughout this contest, he decides he just wants to cover that one up and force a whistle. Face-off going to be coming up in that far circle of the Georgia zone.
And we haven't seen too many clean shot attempts or anything that was, I would say, a good look for both of these offenses. Their chances have all been the gritty type of plays where they're grinding or forcing rebounds or bouncing pucks, and that's the type of game it's been, evenly matched.
quickly up ice for Punzenberger, but a good play by Cook to remove him from that puck and send it back into the offensive zone from Niagara. We're under 11 minutes to go in the second period. It's a 2-1 hockey game in favor of the Purple Eagles. Georgia moving it up ice here with Gutman as they look to find that equalizer. And across the blue line by Eberle, but it's Niagara finding possession. Kroll with a chance to move it through the neutral zone. Banks it off the boards. Ethan Knopf now carrying it in. Knopf circles there along the goal line, gets away from one Georgia player, now back to the point to DiMatteo. DiMatteo lets a wrist shot go. Blocker save made on the play as Newbold out on top of his crease to make that stop. Martin looking to break it out for his Georgia Bulldogs. Gets to his D partner, Jack Gannon. Gannon then up to Gutman, who is the hero in Friday night's game. He scored the game winner with under 8 minutes to go to give Georgia the 4-3 win over Buffalo State. Gutman looking to add to his totals here as he carries it into the offensive zone. Drops a pass off and then accepts that return pass. Got that shot right in on goal. LaSalle making a good stop there. And now it looks like we have a penalty being signaled by the referee there in the offensive zone. He's signaling a roughing call. Not sure which side this is going to. You able to determine who the call was on there?
At first I thought it was Gannon for Georgia, but now I'm not so sure.
Well, neither penalty box door is open yet, and the referee gesturing to the Georgia bench. So this is going to be a Georgia penalty, and it's assessed in the offensive zone. As you see their captain heading over there, Campbell looking for an explanation. Gutman is the one who takes the penalty. The roughing call, another offensive zone penalty here in this game. That's maybe the only sloppiness that we've seen. Both teams have been very careful not to make any careless mistakes in this game. And just those couple of times where we've seen an offensive zone penalty is about all you can be critical of either team with so far.
I completely agree. That's been the one weakness or just the one area of flaw for Georgia, just a couple times that they've shot themselves in the foot and killed their momentum.
Well, they have to kill off another penalty here as we get another look at this Niagara power play. They have a 2-1 lead as they look to add to it. Briggs with an errant pass there, and Brady Knopf has to retreat back into the neutral zone for it as they get their power play set up again here in the neutral zone. Briggs gaining the red line and dumping it into the offensive end. Moore chasing in after it against the near boards. Back to the point now. Brady Knopf quickly along to Scanlon. Scanlon then cross ice. Briggs back to Knopf. Knopf over here to the near side. Moore lets that shot go. Maybe had a little bit more time didn't quite settle it down as quickly as he wanted. That allowed the Georgia player to get over there and get a piece of that shot before it got through. Referee with another arm up there in the air, and it seems we're going to get another penalty signaled as there have been quite a slew of penalties called here in this game. This one is a cross-checking call again in the offensive zone. And heading to the box for the Niagara Purple Eagles is going to be the freshman Matt Kroll. So not the first time in this game. It's like the third or fourth time we've seen a power play started but not actually finished because the team with the man advantage ends up taking a penalty of their own.
Yeah, Niagara I don't believe has done that yet, but they just cut their power play short, which it's just a little surprising to me to see a team, both of these teams, so talented and highly ranked, cutting themselves short. It's just a little surprising.
I think it's maybe a little bit more of a tighter called game than I think they're anticipating. They haven't quite made the adjustments on each bench yet to the fact that the referees aren't really they're not letting much go here in this game. Anything that's borderline has been called here so far. Declan Conway in the offensive zone here as we continue 4-on-4. Shot from the point, Poole right in on goal. Conway with a rebound opportunity from the high slot, but it was a Niagara player that time leaving his feet to get that shot blocked. Georgia keeps it moving in the offensive zone. Conway, though, fanning on that one-timer attempt, but Mazzaros picks him up and gets the pass back to Conway and behind the net. 42 seconds remaining in 4-on-4 play. Conway along the blue line now, changes positions and pivots to get away from one Niagara attacker. As the 4-on-4 play continues here, it looks a little bit more like a Georgia power play at the moment, however, as they've basically camped out here in the offensive zone for the last 30 seconds. Poole with a nice pass back to the point to find Conway. Conway then looking to get it to Mazzaros on the far side, but Brady Knopf reading that one nicely and getting in the way of that pass. Conway with some good defense there in the neutral zone to force a loose puck. Now he's looking to move it up ice as there are now 11 seconds to go in the 4-on-4 portion of this period. Shot is blocked. Another shot blocked there from Niagara as they seem to be matching Georgia's shot blocking prowess from this earlier part of the game. Now Georgia with the power play opportunity, but Niagara in the offensive end with the chance here. Wojciechowski couldn't quite settle it down and get a shot in on goal. Now he retreats back to his point position as Leighton Poole carries it up ice for Georgia. Headman pass to Haugen. Gains the blue line, now looks to set up that power play as there are 18 seconds remaining in this abbreviated man advantage for Georgia. Back to the point to Leighton Poole. This is a dangerous defenseman here for the Bulldogs. Cross ice to Gutman, now back to Poole at the midpoint. Lets that shot go, another block, and then second block, Ethan Knopf twice. First time with the shin pad, second time he leaves his feet and it hits him in the upper body. Great play there by number 11, Ethan Knopf. He's got the go-ahead goal here in this game. And there he was back in the defensive end, making sure that it stands up throughout the end of that Georgia power play. Riddle dumps it into the offensive zone for the Purple Eagles. Gutman in there to chase it down for the Bulldogs. Takes a hit from Kroll against that far corner boards. And now Georgia finds possession of it. This is going to be Leighton Poole taking a moment to settle things down, catch his breath. And now he drops it off for Burnett to start the breakout. Gutman with a little bit of difficulty handling it there, but Poole settles it down and allows Georgia to get it up ice into the neutral zone, then into the offensive end. Punzenberger with some speed into the offensive zone. Had to be quick there, did Lascelles, to get it around him. And now Gutman has the puck back on his stick again. Came out of the penalty box, and he's been very effective out there after getting back onto the ice. Maybe kind of late in a shift, though, as he's heading to the bench for a change. Niagara coming back 3-on-2, though. Briggs drops it for DiMatteo. Big hard slap shot right in on goal, but a clear look at that one for Newbold. Makes the save and covers up, and it stays a 2-1 game.
It was a nice attempt. I like the play dumping it off for the shot by DiMatteo, but Newbold, when he's been able to see the puck clearly, has had zero issues handling the puck. And then just to speak to what Niagara's done, really impressed with their shot blocking, especially during that penalty kill period. Just one of those games where the intensity is very palpable. You can see it.
And you like seeing both teams doing everything they can at all 200 feet of the ice, not just putting in that extra effort in the offensive zone, but the forwards coming back and making great plays in their own zone defensively. That's been basically one of the hallmarks here of this game. Almost a turnover there in the offensive zone for Georgia. Couldn't quite settle it down. It comes back into the neutral zone where Whitwer settles it down. Cross-ice pass to Burnett, and he has a lane to carry it up the far side. Shot coming in from distance. There's a rebound there. Two opportunities in tight. Whitwer's shot right in on goal. And a good save there by Lascelles after he offered up that first rebound. Now another rebound into the slot as that shot comes up in the air, and Lascelles makes the blocker save on that one. Back into the Georgia zone. Puma has to be careful with that one, but Cross gets in the way of that pass. He had an opportunity to let a shot go from the mid-slot. It gets deflected up high. Now a scramble in front of the net here as the whistle is blown, and then there's some heavy physical contact in both directions here.
Oh, my goodness.
We have the goaltender actually involved with one of the Niagara players here, and three different altercations along the goal line as the referee's doing everything they can to break it up. We have a player back here in the high part of the zone throwing punches at the Niagara player as the linesman tries to get between the two of them. This is quickly spilled out of control. There wasn't a whole lot of this temperature to the game quite yet, and it was one net front scramble that boiled over in a hurry.
That really came out of nowhere. It was just the collision into Newbold, and then another player came in and knocked a Niagara player into the Georgia netminder, which really set him off. He came out. He was throwing punches at Joe Stumpo of Niagara, and now you have to imagine we're going to see a handful of players head to the box as the referees try and clean this mess up.
And the question is, how many players are going to head to the box? How many players are going to head to the locker room? Because there were a couple more than light fisticuffs going on there. There were a lot of punches being thrown, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of ejections coming from this one. Referees are going to have their hands full to try to figure out exactly what they're going to call from that net front melee just a moment ago. And maybe also to kind of make sure they keep the lid on this game. There hadn't been any of that type of play in the ensuing part of this game. In fact, there was a net front scramble in front of Lascelles not 3 or 4 minutes ago that was quickly brought down. Nobody continued after that whistle. So this one was a little bit of a surprise to me. Now we have to see whether or not that's something that's going to continue throughout this game.
It really was surprising to me, and to be honest, the play that preceded that really didn't seem too egregious to me. It was a continuation of the scoring chance for Niagara, a little bit of physicality with the netminder, and maybe you have to wonder what kind of words have been exchanged up until that point that perhaps got under the skin of somebody.
Well, now we see exactly how long of a conversation there's going to be about this penalty call and which players end up in the penalty box, and whether or not either side ends up with any sort of manpower advantage from this.
The long conversation going on between the three officials and a couple of captains there for the explanation. So it's going to have to wait here just a moment before we get an idea of exactly what kind of calls are going to be coming here with 5:38 to go in second period play. It's been a very entertaining and a pretty even game with a lot of sportsmanship up until just now. That came out of nowhere. And now we have a game with a little bit of edge to it for the rest of the for the third period and the 5+ minutes of this second period. So
Seems
far,
like
it's just a pile of players in each penalty box at the moment. So I'm not sure anybody's going to be excused from this one. But I'm interested to see whether or not Newbold's going to be assessed a penalty at all, because he was definitely involved in that. He was involved in both the initial scramble and then he skated out of his crease to go after one of the Niagara players. Interested to see how the referees view that play, as you see the Georgia backup goaltender is up on the boards in case he is needed here in this one. That is the goaltender that hasn't seen action this weekend, Owen Spreadbury. This is going to be a long explanation here from the officials, as I'm not sure they have it sorted out what they want to call quite yet. But our coverage of UNYCHL hockey is presented by Buffalo Golf and Social, Western New York's leading indoor golf facility. Simulators, lessons, and leagues, Buffalo Golf and Social is the area's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. Also, a great selection of wine and beer. It's the perfect place to sit and watch golf with others who love the game. Locations downtown and in Orchard Park. Book your next event at Buffalo Golf and Social. This broadcast also brought to you by Militello Realty, Western New York's premier commercial real estate broker. Find them online, militello.com. Also by Envious Gameware, designers of custom hockey uniforms, bags, and apparel. Online, enviousgameware.com. Also by 412 Communications, the new gold standard in digital media solutions. 412communications.com is where you can find them online. Conversation still continuing there with the officials at the scorer's box. So far, we just have 2 players in the box from the Niagara Purple Eagles, 3 players, it looks like, in the box from Georgia, and now we have an extra body coming over there to try to figure out exactly what to put up on the score clock. This might take all of the staff here from Niagara to make sure that this one gets sorted out properly.
We've seen some interesting situations thus far this season with the officiating, but this might be the messiest one that I've seen.
I got to think almost every player on the ice was involved in that in some way, shape, or form, whether or not they were just tied up with somebody or actually engaging in a scuffle of their own. I think the only player that didn't get a chance to join the fray was Josh Lascelles, the Niagara goaltender, and I glanced over to check what he was doing as Newbold came out of his crease to try to engage with one of the Niagara players. That one didn't continue too much, so Lascelles stayed at his end of the rink. But kind of a moment that was unexpected based on the way the game had been progressing, but it's a tight game. It's a game with a fair amount on the line, a chance to send a message across the CHF. Both teams are putting a lot of effort on the line here, and not necessarily surprised by the fact that the emotions are high in this game and that both teams are doing everything they can to try to come out of here with the victory. Now this is interesting to see. Georgia goaltender Nick Newbold is skating back toward his bench, but it looks like he's just exchanging water bottles with one of his teammates. It was a little bit of a misnomer there. I thought that might have been an indication of what the penalties were going to be. We still have no real indication of that, as the 3 officials are still grouped together at the scoring box, having a conversation with the folks on the other side of the glass. And I got to imagine we're going to have a conversation with the 2 captains that are there looking for an explanation of the call. Campbell and Moore waiting there at the half circle of the referee's box. And they finally seem like they have conveyed what the penalty calls are going to be to the folks in the scorer's box. And now we wait to see what goes up on the scoreboard as the 2 referees have discussions now with Chad Moore from Niagara and with Cam Campbell, the captain from Georgia. Keep on waiting to see if any of the players are going to exit the penalty boxes, but it appears that they're all just kind of staying where they are. I'm guessing that the officials are going to try to find a way to make this one all even out, because I'm not sure that I saw any one side of that melee that was more of the offender than the others. I feel like there was a lot of blame to go along, and you can just hand out 3 penalties to each side and move on, but apparently it's going to take some time to get to that point.
The Jeopardy music speaks to that point. The only thing
these long conversations. There's a 5 up on the board. We have a 5-minute penalty up on the board for Niagara. And there's a Niagara player that has walked away from the Niagara bench. I'm not sure why. It appears to be number 55, Blake Train, over there in a conversation with somebody about 30 feet away from the Niagara bench. I'm not sure if that is any indicator of what's been called here on this penalty. But like mentioned, on the board is 5 minutes for Niagara. So this looks like, at least from the early indication, that it's going to be a Georgia major power play. 5 minutes on the power play in a 2-1 hockey game. That is quite an advantage given out here in this game, in a game that has basically been decided by inches. So it's the 5:38 mark of the second period where all of this entertainment has gone down. Now, after the conversation with the captains, we're going to have conversations with each bench, it seems. I don't know why you have to talk to the captains if you're going to go give an explanation to the coach. It used to be at one point in this game, and now we do have a player getting kicked out. This is Blake Train who's being kicked out of the game. He was the player that was about 30 feet away from the Niagara bench. Now he is skating towards the exit to the ice and heading to the locker room. So one of the top defensemen here from the Niagara Purple Eagles has been excused from this game. Number 55, Blake Train, sent to the locker room. He's got a goal and an assist already this year, so one of those defensive contributors that's going to be missed in this game from the Niagara Purple Eagles' perspective. But the more important case, though, is the 5-minute power play that is going to result in this. Georgia's going to get a big opportunity with the man advantage. They trail by a goal. This is a big chance here.
Seems like we finally have players back onto the ice heading down to the Niagara zone. Georgia, I think they're going to have 5 skaters to 4 of Niagara. But it's a little interesting because at least at one point Georgia had 3 players in the box and Niagara with 2. One of theirs being sent off, so that would even out. But I guess the 5-minute penalty to Train is all that's going to be assessed at this point in terms of a Georgia power play and a 1 skater advantage.
Trying to get a couple of things sorted here on the technical end of things, as we have a little bit of an issue with our camera. Hopefully we can get that cleared up here before we continue with play. 5:38 is what remains here in the second period, as it's going to be Georgia heading to the power play here shortly, as the conversation still continues by the scorer's box. It appears we have everything sorted on our end. Nice little bit of a delay, actually. We were starting to complain about the fact that this was a long conversation. Probably was exactly what we needed to make sure our camera unfroze before this power play starts up. 5:38 to go in period number 2, and it's going to be a 5-minute power play for the Georgia Bulldogs. But for some reason, the conversation continuing at the scorer's box.
This really could be a pivotal moment in the game. Georgia with the extended 1 skater advantage, only trailing by 1. And I think the way they finish this second period will really determine who comes out to play in the third as we head towards the final stretch.
Haven't had a whole lot of extended time on the power play yet for Georgia in this game. Both the times they've gotten power plays in this game, they've taken their own penalty. One of them was like 30 seconds into their power play, the other one a little bit more than a minute. So they really haven't had a full opportunity to extend their power play. They were very effective on their power play on Friday against Buffalo State. They did a good job of getting things set up in the perimeter and getting some scoring opportunities with the man advantage on Friday's game. We can see whether or not they can continue that into this afternoon's game whenever we eventually get started up again, because the conversation just continues now at the scorer's box. I would almost rather see them figure this out, what it's supposed to say on the score sheet during intermission, because all of the momentum in this game has disappeared, which might actually be part of the referee's plans.
Perhaps.
If you want to bring down the temperature in the game after basically there were 11 people involved in a fight on the ice, make them wait 10 minutes before they get to play again. That might make everybody calm down just a little bit.
I think at this point everybody's more focused on the game than the scrum that just went down. So that's a good thing.
And we're finally ready to get started. It is, as mentioned, a 5-on-4 in favor of the Georgia Bulldogs, but Niagara winning that first faceoff and sending it the length of the ice, forcing Leighton Poole to head back before he starts back up ice in the offensive direction. Poole comes around the left side of his net. Georgia seeing some light pressure here from Niagara in the neutral zone. They get it across the blue line. Now Niagara starting to pressure that puck a little bit harder in their defensive zone, and they get it out into the neutral zone. Good effective play there by the two Niagara Purple Eagles penalty killers up front. Ethan Knopf again harassing players with the puck as he is out from his point position, or out at that point position, harassing the Georgia defenseman. Gannon, though, slides in from that point position, almost gets a good shot on goal from the lower part of the circle. Conway and Gannon play catch with it up top now. Back over to Conway as he carries it in towards the net. Shot comes in towards the goal. Looked like it got redirected late. And now we have another penalty being called here in this game as the referee very quick to blow that one dead. And I think this one is going against Georgia. Yeah, the Georgia penalty box door is opening up. And this one's going to be Mazzaros heading to the box. Josh Mazzaros, one of the leading scorers here on this Georgia team. And just like we've seen already a couple of times here tonight, the Georgia power play gets started and then is brought to a halt by a Georgia penalty.
They really can't get out of their own way on the man advantage, and it's also been interesting because it's continuously their top scorers that are committing these penalties. Mazzaros has been sent to the box. He's their leading scorer with 6 points coming into tonight. Bigda has been in the penalty box a couple of times. He's second on the team with 5 points coming into tonight. And Georgia, you would just expect that the top players and the leaders on this team would have a little bit more discipline on the power play.
And they all seem to be one of those like net front type of scramble penalties where it's behind the play and not necessarily something that's going to impact what goes on the ice. So we get to play a little bit more 4-on-4. It seems like we've played almost as much 4-on-4 as we've played 5-on-5 here in this game. Minute 50 to go in this 4-on-4 as the shot comes in from the point. DiMatteo letting that one go. He had a screen in front of the net. It just barely missed that far post wide. Now Conway finds control of the puck and looks to carry it up ice. This is kind of a 2-on-3 setting up. A little bit of a miscommunication there along the blue line that allows Niagara to get the puck off of Conway's stick. Abbott now trying to start the breakout behind his own net, but Conway gets in the way of his pass, now looking to create something offensively for his team. Scanlon, though, knocking him off of that one, getting it up to Moore. Moore up the left wing, hard wrist shot right in on goal. And then there's the anticipation of another net front scramble as Logan Scanlon was right there on top of the doorstep waiting for that second opportunity. Got a bump from both the Georgia defenseman and from the Georgia goaltender, Newbold.
Newbold has not been afraid to come out of his crease and get in the face of these Niagara attackers. That one almost looked like it was going to boil over again, but the referees were very quick to step in front of Conway that time.
That's something worth keeping an eye on as this game continues. Every time that he covers it up, he's going to have a little quick trigger there if he's got anyone near him. I wonder if Niagara will keep on trying to test him and determine whether or not that's something that they can maybe end up getting a power play out of. So still 4-on-4 here as Wojciechowski keeps it in on the far side. Knopf with a nice move to get himself free. Feeds it down low to Riddle. Just a little bit of difficulty handling that after Ethan Knopf did a really good job to get himself free and then make that pass down low. Gutman tries to get it around behind the net to Burnett. Moves it up ice, but a player taking a hit there up the far side is Eberle. A little bit of difficulty for Georgia to get it out of the zone. Eberle lays a huge shoulder into his man. And there's a Niagara player down. That's Ethan Knopf. No penalty coming on this one, despite the fact that the Niagara bench was quick to be asking for one. You saw a lot of hands go up in the air from the Niagara bench, looking for some sort of call, but none was made on the play as Knopf still a little bit slow to get back to his skates.
Even the whistle on that one was a little bit delayed. The players were kind of just standing around while the play was live, waiting for a stoppage from the referees when Knopf was slow to get up, although he is slowly rising to his knees.
Ethan Knopf has the second Niagara goal here in this game, the go-ahead goal in this one. Certainly one of the key contributors all last season for this Purple Eagles roster. He was the leading scorer on this team last year. And obviously he's already found the stat sheet tonight with a goal. And he's a valuable member of this Niagara Purple Eagles attack. Certainly don't want to lose him for this contest, as he took just a huge hit there along the far boards. Just the simple violence of it was something that had the Niagara bench looking for a penalty. And now I think we can count on nothing but physicality to be part of this game for the rest of the way.
And it's been stoppage after stoppage the last few times. There was a little bit of a scrum down there with LaSalle that never went anywhere. And then, of course, the massive altercation down at the Georgia end a few minutes ago. And then another big hit and a player that had to get helped off the ice with some medical support and getting checked on the bench is Knopf. It's going to be interesting to see if we can keep this game under wraps or if the tensions are going to continue to boil over.
I don't think either team wants to continue to take penalties and put themselves at a disadvantage, so that might be a reason enough for the coaches to get their teams to lock things down discipline-wise, but the way it's been going, there hasn't been much discipline for the past 10 minutes here in the second period. Shot taken from the left point. Truman Hogan letting that one go. Blocker save made by LaSalle. Deflects it up and out of play. Face-off will be coming up inside the Niagara defensive zone. Will be to the right of LaSalle. 3:04 now left here in the second period. We still have 20 seconds remaining in the 4-on-4, and then the Georgia power play will pick back up again as there's still 2:25 remaining on the major penalty that was handed out for that melee earlier. Cook finding possession of it, and he has a lane to skate it up here the near side for Niagara. Has two players on him as he gains the blue line. Good defense by the Bulldogs there to make sure that rush didn't get much further past the blue line. Cook, though, in from his point position to keep it in here at the right point. And now retreating back into the neutral zone as Georgia comes back to full strength, and they have a full 2 minutes now to work on remaining in the major penalty. Good work as it was quickly sent down the ice by DiMatteo for Niagara, and the Purple Eagles have killed off a couple more moments here of this penalty, and they get a couple more bodies out there on the ice to kill off the remainder of it. Back in the Niagara zone now as Brady Knopf finds it quick on top of that loose puck and quickly sends it back down the ice. So Leighton Poole's going to have to head back behind his own cage before he sets up the Georgia breakout. Poole comes to the left of the net, gets it up to Conway. Cross-ice pass. That one connects with Jack Gannon, and now Georgia moves into the offensive zone. Good hit there, very effective by Brady Knopf to remove Gannon from the puck, but good puck support from Georgia as Conway found that loose puck and kept the power play moving. Conway and Poole play catch with it. Conway then feeds it down low where he's got Bigda along the goal line. Georgia still getting that power play set up. Now they're in behind the goal line as Mazzaros has to battle against a man there in the corner to find the loose puck. Good work, though, to get it away from him, then get it back to the point to Poole. Shot in on goal. Stick save made there by LaSalle. Rebound cleared down the ice by the Niagara defender. Now 50 seconds remaining in the major penalty. Poole with speed up the right wing, decides to just drop it back to Gannon. Gannon wasn't quite expecting that pass, though, and now Georgia kind of has to regroup inside their own zone before they can get it up ice. Conway with a one-hand pass, getting it to Bigda, and now Georgia into the offensive zone. Loose puck in that far corner. Mazzaros is the first one to it. Behind the net to Conway. Conway finds his point man. This is Poole giving it back to Conway as the two of them switch positions. 20 seconds remaining on the power play for Georgia as they barely keep it inside the blue line. Poole with it along the left-hand wall. Cross-ice pass, and now back to the midpoint to Gannon. Gannon feeds it across to Poole, but a good block there. Leaving his feet was Stumpo. Getting a block on that one. Now had a lot on it. I'm sure he's feeling that one right now. Last seconds of the penalty tick away. Niagara back to even strength. Shot coming in from Poole. A rebound opportunity was there on the doorstep. Looked like Mazzaro's shot just missed the net wide. Big hit here in the corner as Conway gets knocked down on the play. Niagara then sends it the length of the ice. And this one's going to be an icing call as they are back to full strength. But this means that the 5 players that are out there on the ice for Niagara, a couple of them had been out there throughout that penalty kill. They have to stay on the ice for these last 20 seconds of the period.
Extremely effective penalty kill for Niagara. Once again, getting in the way of the shooting lanes, blocking the puck. And Georgia, with the few power play minutes that they've had, which haven't been many, they've struggled to get shots on net.
The times that they've had the room to let the shots go, Niagara's been doing a very good job of blocking those ones. There were, I think I've counted at least 3 block shots here in this period while killing the penalty for Niagara. And they've done a good job here to make sure they get it out of their zone after that icing face-off. Going to be 10 seconds remaining, though, in the period. Maybe time for one last scoring opportunity from Georgia. That pass doesn't connect on the far side. Now a chance to get that puck out of the zone. 2 seconds remaining. Maybe not enough for a shot in on goal. Just kind of floated in there as Scanlon saw the clock ticking away. Decided to let that one go, but a fairly easy save for Nick Newbold. And period number 2 has come to a conclusion. Similar way to the way that the first period ended. It's a 1-goal margin, and it's Niagara with the 1-goal lead. It was Ethan Knopf getting the go-ahead goal there in period number 2 after the Georgia Bulldogs had tied it up with Matt Bigda's goal early on in the frame. So after 40 minutes of play, it's been a wildly entertaining contest so far. There's a little bit of physicality and some maybe bad blood picking up here in this one. It's been very close, maybe a game of inches throughout. Should be a great third period that we have coming up.
Absolutely. The intensity really rose to the top in the last 6 or 5 minutes of that period. And the one thing that Georgia they're playing so well in all facets of the game. Their goaltender's playing great. Nice defense. They're moving the puck relatively well, but just unable to generate scoring chances on the power play. And when they've had the power play, they haven't lasted long. They've really hurt themselves with the penalties that they've taken.
Yeah, every single time they've had a power play tonight, I might have missed one, but I think it's all 3 of the power plays. They've taken their own penalty to negate part of it. Niagara did the same as well. So we've seen the referees very quick to call penalties here in this game. Not sure what sort of adjustments we're going to have from either side, whether or not they're going to try to get a little bit more discipline in their games for the third period, but this should be a great third period that we have coming up. It's been a great game throughout for 2 periods of play. I expect the third to be just as good. Our coverage of the UNYCHL is presented by Buffalo Golf and Social, Western New York's leading indoor golf facility. Simulators, lessons, leagues, Buffalo Golf and Social is the area's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. And with great beer and wine selection, it's also the perfect place to sit and watch golf with others who love the game. Locations downtown and in Orchard Park. Book your next event at Buffalo Golf and Social. This broadcast also brought to you by Militello Realty, Western New York's premier commercial real estate broker. By Envious Gameware, designers of custom hockey uniforms, bags, and apparel. And by 412 Communications, the new gold standard in digital media solutions. Also, as we continue with our coverage of the UNYCHL, a reminder that UNYCHL Rinkside is the source for news from the Upstate New York Collegiate Hockey League. Hear what's happening around the league through the voices of its players and its coaches. UNYCHL Rinkside comes out every Wednesday throughout the season at the league website, unychl.hockey, or search for UNYCHL Rinkside on Spotify. We've got another game coming up on the Nickel City Hockey Network as part of our UNYCHL coverage. Our next league broadcast is less than 2 weeks away. We'll be at the Northtown Center at Amherst for a matchup of the last 2 champions of the UNYCHL as St. Bonaventure squares off against the University at Buffalo. That game is Friday night, October the 14th, right here on the Nickel City Hockey Network. And our coverage of the UNYCHL presented by Buffalo Golf and Social. We're going to step away here for the second intermission, but we're going to be back in about 10 minutes for third period play. Be sure to stay tuned. and welcome back to Niagara University, Dwyer Arena on the campus of Niagara University in Lewiston, New York, as we wrap up what has been a very busy weekend in the UNYCHL. 21 games involving UNYCHL teams this weekend, and we might have the best one of the weekend as we have a 2-1 game after 40 minutes of play. Niagara with the 2-1 lead over Georgia. Georgia wrapping up a 3-game Western New York swing as they give themselves some challenges in the early part of the season, looking to get themselves well tested for the rest of the CHF season ahead. Got 20 minutes of play left here from Dwyer Arena at Niagara University, and it's been a great game throughout. Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Elpern, joined in the call today by Ryan Tantalo. And Ryan, a lot of emotion in this game, a lot of very good hockey being played so far.
And I'm really not surprised by either of those things because Georgia, they've had a successful road trip through 2 games. They're right in this game with Niagara with just a period to go before they leave New York State for good, and I'm sure that they want to finish on a high note with some high intensity.
And you see a lot of intensity already from both benches. Everybody up on their skates, pounding on the bench walls, getting ready for the start of period number 3. We're underway here in the 3rd period. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Nickel City Hockey Network. Our coverage of the UNYCHL brought to you by Buffalo Golf and Social. Puck in the Georgia zone. Jack Gannon settling it down there. Has to circle away from one forechecker. Had a second guy coming towards him. Just barely got it away from him. Got it up ice. Declan Conway with a nice sidestep move around one man, but good back checking as Scanlon comes back on the play to create a loose puck. Moore with the puck here, cutting through the neutral zone. Cutting back through the middle of the ice now as he drops a pass off for Thomason. Thomason's shot goes wide, just serves as a dump in on the play, but Georgia finding possession, looking to get it up ice quickly. Ethan Knopf, though, gets in the way of a pass. Good to see him back in the action. He took a big hit in the second period. Good to see him back out there on the ice. He has one of the 2 Niagara goals here today. Shot from the right point goes high and wide, but kept in here at the near point. Cook letting a hard low shot go. That one got redirected late. Somebody got a piece of it there about 5 feet in front of the top of the crease. Ends up being deflected up and out of play. So an offensive zone draw coming up here for Georgia. A little bit more than a minute into period number 3.
I think that was Knopf who was attempted that redirect in front, and then he took a little bit of a hit after the play, but still out there, tough guy, clearly after the punishment he's endured tonight.
Niagara wins the face-off. Riddle can't get that shot through traffic. It looked like it hit Eberle in the back. But this is Ethan Knopf behind the goal line trying to make a move around Eberle, but Eberle doing a good job on the defense there, making sure that that move wasn't going to work out. Pass is floated here into the offensive zone. That play ends up working out nicely as Punzenberger has it behind the net. Gets it back to the point. Now D to D. Leighton Poole lets a shot go, but a very clear look at that. That screen had cleared the way by the time Poole let that shot go, so a pretty easy save on that play for LaSalle. He deflects it up and out of play. We get another stoppage. 18:34 now remaining here in the 3rd.
I'm interested to see what kind of zone pressure and zone time Georgia can set up here and see if they can sustain their attack a little bit longer than they have been tonight.
Can't really determine which team has had the better part of 5-on-5 play in this game. There's been so little of it. It seems that we've had just a slew of penalties called throughout on both sides that it's been hard for one team to really establish control of the 5-on-5 play.
You're absolutely right. The number of players on the ice has been fluid tonight, to say the least. And in 5-on-5, it's been evenly matched, but we've seen so little of it.
Seen just as much 4-on-4 as we have 5-on-5, it seems, at some points in this game. And at least here in the 3rd period, though, we've avoided having any penalties called quite yet. Not sure if that'll continue, though. A little bit of physical contact there against the near boards. No call coming on that one. We have a delayed offsides coming up here, and that gives Niagara a chance to get it up ice quickly. The 2 Knopfs can't connect on a pass, though, but it gets deflected on its way through, so no icing in that play. And Knopf now battling 1-on-2 below the goal line, trying to find a loose puck. Good work there to find that loose puck. He's got Riddle there to help out. Riddle getting tied up with a Georgia player, eventually back to the point to Wojciechowski, but he falls on the play. That was a dangerous moment there for the Purple Eagles. Good play by the forward Riddle to come back there towards the point and pick up his defender.
Riddle's been active tonight, really has a nose for the puck, and pretty good positioning all night, being in the right spot.
Pass intercepted there along the blue line. This is going to be a chance to carry it into the offensive zone. Shot taken. Nice hard low shot right along the ice. Mandia letting that one go, testing Newbold. Newbold making a really good right pad save on that one to keep it a 2-1 game. Puck is dumped in by Niagara as they put on some light pressure here with Cross. Comes up the near boards where Punzenberger has a man right on him. He has to be quick about it to get it to the center of the ice, but he does find Gutman with it. And now Gutman makes a couple of moves as he meanders his way through the neutral zone, cutting in towards the slot. He had 4 different Niagara players converging on him and unable to find somebody else to get that puck to, but the shot comes in from the point, right in on goal. And we might have too many men on the ice there, as that was a little bit of a sloppy change from Georgia. I don't think that's what the call that was made, though, as I think I saw a referee signaling a hand pass. Georgia might have gotten away with one there.
I saw the hand pass signal, but I think you're right. It did appear that Georgia had a bit of a sloppy and a sluggish change there, but thankfully it didn't get caught by the officials, at least.
Yeah, it looked like it was the 2 defensemen that were trying to get a change while the puck was deep in the offensive zone. Puck ended up coming back out to the neutral zone pretty quickly, and the 2 Georgia players that came on the ice for that change were maybe a little bit fast to join the play. Referees don't see it as a too many men on the ice call, however, and we continue now with under 17 minutes to go in regulation. Zach Briggs dumping it into the offensive zone. He had the first goal for Niagara on the power play tonight. Shot comes in from the point as that one gets deflected wide. DiMatteo letting that one go. Puma with a chance to start the breakout. Relieves a little bit of that pressure by going D to D, and now Whitwer has a chance to dump it into the offensive zone. Takes a hit from his troubles from Cristaldi. And now Lascelles with a chance to set it up. A lot of time there for the goaltender to play the puck, as this is going to be Bratton looking to carry it up the near side. His pass hits his fellow number 24, and that allows Georgia to keep it deep in the offensive zone. Whitwer takes the puck off of his man, but Cook recovering really nicely on that play. Whitwer out-muscled him for it at first, but Cook coming back hard on that one, making sure that he got the better part of that exchange in the end. Cook has it on his stick again, now carrying it up the right wing. He's been very impressive here in this game already. He has made an impact for his team in the first 2 Niagara games of the year, and despite the fact that he might be playing through a little bit of an injury, we weren't sure if he was going to be playing tonight. He's been very good out there.
We've seen a lot of him, and he's been effective.
There he is again with the puck, chasing it down in his own zone, getting that pass up ice, then heading to the bench for a change as the captain Briggs fires a shot in on goal. Not a whole lot on that one, as Briggs was the only one in the offensive zone. Had 3 different Georgia players nearby defending him, so a good, smart play. It ends up being not much of a scoring opportunity, but it results in an offensive zone draw.
And Niagara's had some success with that, as we've alluded to a couple times. Just making Newbold a little bit uncomfortable, making him come out and play the puck, and then setting themselves up on the attack.
This is the top Niagara line of Scanlon, Moore, and Thomason. They have created a bunch of opportunities throughout this game. They win that faceoff, but the shot is blocked by the arm of the netminder, up and out of play. So another faceoff from that same dot to the right of Newbold. This is going to be, it's actually a matchup of both top lines, as you have Conway and Scanlon on for this faceoff. Referee now having a conversation with the couple of wingers here against the near boards. And once that is all sorted, we should be ready to go here. 15:37 remains in regulation. What has been a great contest so far here today on the Nickel City Hockey Network. Scanlon battling for a loose puck does a good job to make sure that stays in the offensive zone. Wojciechowski helping him out with that. Now the puck is behind the Georgia goal as 2 players battle for possession. It's going to be Moore finding it, but the second Georgia player that joins the fray ends up taking it off of his stick. Niagara then finding possession again before Bigda finally settles it down and moves it up ice. Funny bounce, and now it's a chance for Conway makes the move onto the forehand. Looked like he didn't have enough space to make the move, but he did. He got it around the netminder Lascelles and found the back of the net. It's a 2-2 hockey game on a little bit of a quirky bounce there along the Niagara blue line. Conway finding that opportunity quick on that loose puck, and it's a tie hockey game.
Conway needed every single inch of space he had to get that shot off, because he barely got control of it at the last second, made his move to the forehand, and snuck it by on the left leg of Lascelles. But a great pass up ice by Bigda, and just a bit of a fortunate bounce for Georgia, but we've seen a few bounces go the other way, so it's no surprise, and tied up at 2.
And right back where we started here at the beginning of this game. We expected this to be a tight, even affair throughout. It's been exactly what we had in mind, as now both teams battle for a loose puck along the Georgia blue line. Campbell, the captain of the Georgia Bulldogs, carries it into the offensive zone. Gets that pass out in front. Good stick there from a Niagara defender to make sure that there was no opportunity from close range. Ethan Knopf with the puck on his stick. 3 players from each side trying to find a control of that one. Georgia keeping it in the offensive zone here. Good little bit of contact there on the far side as P.J. Abbott hits his man pretty hard there, forcing a loose puck, allowing Niagara to come up with it. And now they look to get it up ice quickly, but that pass a little bit too far for its intended target, and it's going to go for icing as it was just a hair out of the reach of its intended target. So back in the Niagara zone coming up for this face-off, 14-24 remains in a wildly entertaining game here. Might not be 14-24. We might get extra time like they did between Georgia and St. Bonaventure last night.
Let's just hope it doesn't go to a shootout so we can actually pick a winner.
I'm still confused by that. Last night's game finished as officially a 1-1 tie between Georgia and St. Bonaventure. They did play a shootout, which Georgia won, but because College Hockey South doesn't play shootouts in their league play, it ends up counting as a tie for the official standings and the national rankings. So, interesting little development that was last night. And hopefully we can get this game decided without having to wonder about whether or not the shootout's going to mean anything here tonight. Still have 14 minutes to go in regulation, so plenty of opportunity for both teams to add to their goal total. It looks like Georgia's taking a penalty here as the player hooked the Niagara player, Riddle, carrying it into the offensive zone. Lost his stick in the process, and now the Georgia Bulldog defenseman touches that one up. The hooking call is signaled, and Eberle goes back to find the stick that he lost in the process of taking the hooking call before heading to the box to serve his 2 minutes.
And this time, Georgia's actually going to be down a skater because they took the penalty at even strength, which we haven't seen too much of. Most of their penalties have been on the power play. So another chance for Niagara. They haven't had much of a power play chance throughout the game, other than late in the first period when they ended up scoring their first goal on a 5-on-3.
It was Zach Briggs scoring that power play goal. He's out there on the ice again at the left point position. Niagara with 4 forwards out there on this power play. And Cook, the one defenseman, he's been excellent, just as offensively skilled as any forward on the ice. Cook now down low in the offensive zone, clearly not satisfied with just staying back at his point position. Burnett, the Georgia defenseman, does a good job to create a loose puck there, but it's going to be picked up and then moved back to the point by Kroll. Finds Briggs here at the left point, and now Kroll has it again. Tries to get that shot through, but a really nice block as Zachary Puma got in the way of that one. Whitwer now tries to kick it the length of the ice as he lost his stick in that play. Niagara might get a chance to take advantage of having one of the penalty killers without a stick, but they can't keep a hold of that one. And then Georgia sends that one the length of the ice. Now 1:20 to go in their penalty. This is Case Cook setting it up behind the net. The freshman from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, finds a man up the right wing. This is Moore now into the offensive zone. Good poke check there by Whitwer, and that allows Georgia to clear the zone, but would have been out into the neutral zone if it had stayed just about a foot lower. It just barely got over the lip of the bench and into the Georgia bench. So another stoppage in play, and that gives Niagara a chance to get 5 new players out there for the power play.
Nice break for Niagara as they kind of regroup and try and re-enter the zone with over a minute remaining still on this power play.
Yeah, minute 5 to be exact remaining on this man advantage. As Ethan Knopf out there for the draw for Niagara, winning that one off of Declan Conway. And now Niagara looks to set it up here in the neutral zone. Riddle has a chance to let a shot go. He had a nice angle, and he was low enough in the zone, just about even with the face-off dot. Looking to go low glove side on Newbold, but Newbold up to that challenge, making the stop with the glove hand, then covering it up. Now 54 seconds remain on the penalty to David Eberle. Conway and Knopf again from that face-off dot on the near side of the Georgia zone. Knopf again winning a draw cleanly, but a little bit of difficulty maintaining the blue line there as it was kind of bouncing in the air along that far side. DiMatteo thought he kept it in the zone, but the linesman here on the near side, referee rather blowing it dead, calling it an offsides rather decisively, so clearly he saw it as offsides and didn't hesitate to make that call.
It was close, but I do believe that was the right call.
A little bit always tough to tell when the puck ends up on edge. You can't quite determine whether or not it crossed the line. Certainly from our broadcast vantage point where we're on the other blue line, I think I'm going to trust what the referee's view of that one was as opposed to what I saw from what is at least 100 feet away. 33 seconds now remain here on this Niagara power play. Riddle carries it into the offensive zone. Doesn't get much further past the top of the circle, and Georgia sends it right back into the neutral zone. Brady Knopf now starting it back from his own blue line. A couple of players run into each other. That almost was a shorthanded opportunity resulting from that. And now the two Knopfs change positions here up top as it's fed down low to Riddle. Had 2 men in front, so he tried to feed that pass out in front to Jake Thomason. Looked like he took just a little bit of a bump as the puck got to him, so that ended up resulting in the puck going all the way back down into Niagara territory, and that's going to kill off the rest of this penalty as Everly comes out of the box and goes into the bench, and Georgia's back to 5-on-5. Niagara, though, has possession of it inside their own blue line. Riddle with a little bit of a dangerous spot there to be stick handling with it, though. Kept it away from the Georgia players. Now he heads to the bench for a change as Niagara sets up some defensive positioning here in the neutral zone. That pass is beyond its intended target by the Georgia Bulldogs, so that one's going to go for icing. And Niagara's now going to enjoy the offensive zone face-off with 11:26 to go in the third period. Niagara just finished off a power play of theirs. And we see if they can gather any momentum from that man advantage.
They didn't perform too well on that man advantage. I thought the setup was good. They had pretty good positioning and players crashing the net, but just couldn't quite connect the passes. And once again, Georgia making a few blocks on that power play as well.
Yeah, the shot blocks have been key to both of these teams being as effective as they have been killing off penalties. Niagara did get that goal in the first period, but it was on a 5-on-3 tic-tac-toe passing and a very nice finish by Zach Briggs. So definitely seen both teams able to maintain momentum, not lose momentum in this tight game, despite the fact that both sides have been taking penalties. They've done a good job to keep themselves in the game, even though they have to spend a little bit of time down a man.
Absolutely, and it just has been one of those games where it's so evenly matched. I think both teams know in the back of their mind, it's like, even if we get through this penalty or this power play or whatever, there's so much time left to play, and you know the other side isn't going to go away no matter what.
See which side gets the next break in this game. It was kind of a fortunate bounce that ended up leading to the Georgia goal, the most recent one, the one that tied it up by Conway. Excellent finish at the end of that, but the puck kind of taking a couple of bounces off some skates there in the neutral zone gave him that opportunity on the breakaway. Obviously, though, took advantage of it. Well, you have to see which bounce is going to go in favor of which side going forward, as we have just under 11 minutes to go in regulation.
Right, and you have to wonder, there's been so few really high-quality opportunities throughout this game. The next lucky bounce might be the one that decides this contest.
Is it going to be the next lucky bounce, the next great play, or the next mistake? There haven't been a lot of mistakes here in this game with the exception of taking some penalties, but can't really fault players for being excited about a big game like this. This has been a very well-played game, and I have a lot of compliments to give to both sides in this one. Georgia and Niagara have definitely brought it for the third game in 3 days that each team is playing. Maybe a little bit worried about the energy levels, but they have not flagged one bit here in this contest. Punzenberger getting it deep in the offensive zone for Georgia. Gutman intercepts a pass and now carries it out in front of the net. Was given a fair amount of time to get that one into the low part of the circle before he let his shot go. Looked like it got deflected wide before it got in on goal. Puck is then sent the length of the ice by Stumpo, and another icing coming up here to Niagara, so those same 5 players are going to have to stay out there, and at least a couple of them are a little bit tired as you see Marcus Bratton heading over to the bench to get some water. Cristaldi joining him as well. See whether or not the Niagara players will try to drag this one out a little bit, get a little bit more wind in their sails.
Yeah, a few guys you just saw there were kind of keeled over, making sure they catch their breath, as this is another important face-off.
Big face-off win there by Zach Briggs. Can't get the puck out of the zone, however. Now a cross-ice pass is connected on. This is going to be Declan Conway circling in from the top of the slot. Lets that shot go. There's a rebound opportunity there. Covered up by LaSalle. Late whistle, though. And now we have a little bit more of an exchange around the net front. And a player going down there. That was P.J. Abbott heading to the ice as he was engaged with Matt Bigda. He sold that one just a little bit on the play, but might not be surprised if there's a call coming nonetheless. Referees now having a conversation about what they saw as Abbott gets back to the ice. And it looks like Bigda is heading to the penalty box. Abbott does a good job of drawing a penalty on that play, and Niagara's going to get the next chance on the power play. We had talked about those net front scrambles and those because of the big melee that was seen in the second period, that we were going to keep an eye on what happened around the net anytime one of the goaltenders froze it to see if there was one team that stayed disciplined and one that didn't. I think we found it wasn't a lot of physicality. It wasn't a big hit. Abbott went down in a heap, though, sold it pretty well. And Niagara's going to enjoy a power play with just under 10 minutes to go in regulation.
Interesting, this time it was on the Niagara net before we had the big scrum in front of Georgia's net, but Georgia once again hurting themselves and heading to the box for the third time is Bigda.
Niagara wins the faceoff. Cook has it at the near point. Conway with a good job to get him off of that one. Has to make a second effort to get that one away from Briggs. Does manage to get it up ice. Conway was excellent in the game on Friday. I had him as one of our 3 stars of the game. He has been just as good here. He's got the equalizer for his team, and then he lays the shoulder into Scanlon there right along the red line. As the game goes on, Conway seems to be getting even better. Clearly, the 3rd game in 3 days is not a problem for him.
And playing on both ends, too, which is always impressive. He clearly an offensive-minded player, but not afraid to lay the body in the neutral zone or on defense.
Clearly trusted here to kill penalties, too, as he's out there for the first part of this penalty kill. Minute 15 to go in that Niagara power play. Georgia gets another shot block, as getting in the way of that one was Mazzaros, another offensive forward for the Georgia Bulldogs, sacrificing the body in his own zone.
You've seen that time and time again tonight, and it's probably the biggest reason, at least for Georgia, that Niagara's power play has only capitalized once on the number, more than 5 or 6 times they've had a man advantage.
Minute 13 remains in this man advantage. Niagara again with that offensive zone draw. They have their second unit out there for this face-off in the offensive zone as both teams battle for a loose puck against those far boards. 3 Niagara players in there finally dislodging it, getting it back to the point. Knopf and Briggs play catch with it along the blue line. Briggs circles away from one defender and gets it back to Brady Knopf. Now over to the far side as they set things up a little bit further. Now Briggs with an opportunity, tries to get a cross-ice pass in towards the slot. Georgia player getting in the way of that. Second player coming in, Gannon finding the loose puck, making sure it's sent the length of the ice. Now 42 seconds left in this Niagara power play. Scanlon gets it away from one Georgia player here at center ice and gets it to Brady Knopf, and he starts it back into the offensive zone. Moore then finds Ethan Knopf, and it's in towards the slot. Good defense again by Georgia to make sure they clog that area. Couldn't get it out of the zone, though, as Briggs let a slap shot go from the midpoint. Niagara keeps it going now. Moore to Brady Knopf, cross to the far side. Briggs there on that far wing of this umbrella setup. Down low to Ethan Knopf, now up top. Moore lets a shot go. He caught Newbold a little bit out of position. Fired that hard, low wrist shot past him, and it's now a 3-2 lead in favor of Niagara, and they do so right at the very end of their power play.
And actually a similar spot to when they scored that first power play goal, a little bit farther away, but on the left wing that time, letting it fly, going low on Newbold, which I guess has been a weakness. Not a big weakness for him, but just enough for that puck to get by, and Niagara once again capitalizing on the power play.
Great look there from low to high and cross ice from the far corner to the near side, just inside the top of the circle. And a laser of a shot there by Chad Moore as he's given his team a 3-2 lead with just over 8 minutes to go in regulation. See what sort of response we now get from the Georgia Bulldogs, as this is Big to probably looking to make good for his most recent penalty as he carries it into the offensive zone, tried to find a man in front, but his pass was intercepted. Now Niagara looks to come back in the opposite direction. That pass too far for its intended target. Now Georgia back in the offensive zone. Kroll spinning away from one man, gets a pass behind the net. DiMatteo now looking to set it up over there. Comes back to the near side. The 2 defensemen playing catch with it, but they can't handle that second pass, and now Bigda keeps it going here in the offensive zone. Cycles it down low where he finds Mazzaros. Mazzaros against the near boards, back to the midpoint. Campbell lets a shot go. There's a rebound sitting out there in the mid-slot. Georgia players unable to get to it and settle it down to get a second opportunity, but they have it here behind the net. Quick pass out in front. That one doesn't connect as Georgia was looking to give that tic-tac-toe setup and find somebody in a high-danger scoring area. A couple Georgia players get tangled up with each other there, and that maybe negates a little bit of that push there in the offensive zone. Niagara, though, able to relieve some pressure and send it the length of the ice. Not far enough or fast enough for icing, though. Niagara's going to get to make a change out of this as Campbell carries it up ice.
Pretty strong response from Georgia coming back from that goal. We'll see if they can keep it up.
Niagara trying to clear it out of the zone on that far side, but Gutman getting in the way and sending it right back in on goal. Gutman now has it along the far boards just in front of the Niagara bench. Down low to Punzenberger as he's got a man on him. Takes a bump from Abbott, but still gets it back to the point. This is Puma with it. Puma gets it to Punzenberger again as the 2 guys switch positions there. Now it's down to the far side where Gutman gets it. High-low game going on very nicely there as they move it from the point to the hash marks and then back to the point. Puma letting the shot go in the end, but a pretty clean look there from Lascelles as he makes the save. Keeps this one a 3-2 lead in favor of his Purple Eagles.
LaSalle really has had no trouble seeing the puck and fielding the puck when it's sent in clearly, but I think what Georgia needs to do is continue taking looks like that, but just maybe get another body in front of the net, try and get a redirect or a rebound.
As we've said multiple times, both teams have done a good job of, when they're in their defensive zone, getting in the way of some of those shooting lanes. He's got to keep on trying to fire it through those screens. Eventually one of them is going to get through. Eberle finds a loose puck here along the near point. Gets it down low. Gutman taking a hit against the near boards, but he gets it, finds a teammate down the corner. That pass doesn't connect, though, and now Ethan Knopf carrying it up ice 2-on-3 into the offensive zone. Late in a shift for Knopf, so he just dumps it in and then heads to the bench for a change. But Riddle's down low, putting some pressure on the Georgia defenseman. Punzenberger avoids a hit just inside of his own blue line, gets it up ice, but that pass doesn't quite connect, and now Niagara back into the offensive zone as we are under 5:40 to go in regulation. Militello with a chance to let a shot go as he came out of the corner and let a wrist shot go. It looked like it hit a Georgia stick on the way there and went wide. And now the Bulldogs move it up ice 3-on-4 into the offensive zone. Good defense as two different Niagara players making sure they were back defensively as the Purple Eagles are protecting this 1-goal lead. Back in front of the Georgia net, this is Martin looking to move it up ice. He's got Punzenberger in the neutral zone, but that banks off the boards a little bit too hot for him to handle. And now it's an opportunity for Niagara to move it back towards the offensive zone. Comes back through center ice where Cross has to settle it down. He finds P.J. Abbott on the far side. Abbott dumping it in right on goal. There's a player nearby, and so Newbold decides he will just cover that one up, hold on for a whistle, as we're now under 5 minutes to go in regulation. Niagara leading this one 3-2.
And the play slows down a little bit after a couple of hectic minutes following that Niagara go-ahead goal. But 5 minutes on the clock, that's plenty of time for Georgia. This is going to be a very interesting end of this game, and I'd be surprised if this is the final score, 3-2.
Briggs and Conway on for this draw. We have seen a lot of this top line from Georgia. The Conway, Mazzaros, and Bigda line, they've almost been getting double shifted here in this third period. And they've been effective, too, which is impressive to say because they've been out there for a lot of hockey this weekend. This is the third game in 3 days, and now getting double shifted in a tight third game in that 3-day stretch.
And last night went to overtime in a shootout, so it's really been it's been more than 3 games at this point.
They're certainly getting their money's worth on this trip, both in travel, the miles that they've put in on the team bus, as well as on the ice getting that extra little bit of hockey last night. Might be in for a little bit more extra hockey here this afternoon. Puck inside the Niagara zone as we have about 4 minutes to play in regulation. Georgia finding possession. This is the dangerous Declan Conway with the puck on his stick. Spins and fires a shot towards the net. Maybe just didn't have quite that angle to get it in on goal. He is showing that he has been one of those players that Georgia has definitely been pushing the offense with. Martin keeping it in at the far point. His shot is blocked by Scanlon on the way through, and that allows DiMatteo to pick it up in the far corner. Fakes a pass behind the net, now tries to move it up the far side, but it is kept in at that far point by Martin. Good play, though. It was Scanlon who had lost his stick on that play, left his feet, made sure it got out of there, got out of the zone with the hand pass, then goes to the bench for a change as Niagara settles back in their defensive zone.
Smart play.
Brady Knopf doing the smart thing there to make sure it goes off the boards and into the neutral zone. That allows Moore to bring it into the offensive end. Ethan Knopf lets a shot go after Moore dropped a pass to him. That one coming from the top of the circle. A blocker save made by Newbold as Gannon settles it down and moves it up ice for the Bulldogs. His pass is deflected, but eventually gets to Bigda, and he just dumps it all the way into the offensive zone. Dylan Spicer is putting some pressure on the Niagara defenseman there. Pass comes out to Riddle, and he avoids one man and just chips it through the neutral zone slowly into the Georgia end. That one's not going to go for icing. An effective way to kill off a little bit more time in this game as we're under 2:50 remaining in regulation. Double shifting continues as you have Conway and Mazzaros back out there on the ice here for Georgia. They might not come off the ice for the rest of this game with the way it's going. Conway, though, has plenty in the tank as he carries it in across the blue line again. Makes that pass, and now a cross-ice pass as that was Campbell looking for Mazzaros at the back door. It looked like it just hit a Niagara skate before it could get across to him. Brady Knopf gets it out of the zone, then he takes a bump right in front of his bench. Eventually that puck does end up in Georgia territory. Now 2:10 remaining in regulation as Leighton Poole carries it through the neutral zone. 4 Niagara players back on the play as Poole takes a hit from P.J. Abbott. The two of them set up in front of the net. Punzenberger battles off a one, check in behind the net, now looking for a pass. Finds a man. This is Poole at the right point. Shot through traffic. Good read, though, as Lascelles saw that there wasn't a whole lot of room for that shot to go. Found it with the glove hand and held on for a whistle. Under 2 minutes now remaining in regulation. Wonder if we're going to see Georgia taking a timeout here.
I think so, as Newbold heads to the bench. And I like the idea of what Georgia just did on that possession. They had Conway kind of camped out in front of the net. The shot wasn't at the best angle, but still, you take that one and you never know. It hits a stick or a body or a skate and could possibly beat Lascelles. So I'd like to see them continue to do that. And if they end up pulling the goaltender, which is possible in the next minute or so, I'd see Georgia really trying to crash the net, put bodies in front, and screen, trying to kind of tie this game at 3.
So Georgia head coach John Camp trying to make sure that top line has all the rest that they might need for the last little bit less than 2 minutes of regulation. Keep on mentioning that Mazzaros, Bigda, and their third line mate on that with that group. They've been so good in this game here so far, and a big reason why they're in this battle. But like we've been mentioning the last couple of minutes here in this game, they've been double shifted throughout this third period. We have seen nothing but that line of Conway, Mazzaros, and Bigda. So I expect them to be right there off of this timeout for this face-off in the offensive zone. Actually, they're trying to get them just a little bit of extra rest for the end of this frame, I think, as this appears to be the second unit of Eberle, Punzenberger, and Gutman out there for this face-off. Not surprised, though, the two defensemen, Gannon and Poole, both offensive defensemen. Goaltender Newbold still in his net, but he's out towards the hash marks. Might be ready to head towards the bench to get that 6th skater out there. Georgia winning possession, but they still keep it with the 5 skaters out there for now. Back to the point. Gannon across to Poole. Big slap shot on the one-timer. Nice save there by Lascelles, reading that one perfectly, sliding to his right, making the stop and covering up.
Nice attempt by Georgia off the face-off win in the offensive zone, and I'm sure they'll like to continue to do that with less than 2 minutes to play.
Looked like something that they might have drawn up there on the bench, because that was executed like they had done it before. That looked like something that was done time and time again in practice, and then they executed it on the ice as well. The netminder from Niagara, though, he was up to the challenge. A really good save, as both goaltenders have been solid throughout. We've been really treated to a great game here.
Absolutely.
Niagara wins the face-off. They look to get that puck out of the zone. They do get it out. Maybe a 2-on-1 is going to develop here out of it. It's into the offensive zone is Thomason. Tough angle shot just wide of the net. And now looking to counter, it's going to be the Georgia Bulldogs. Eberle tries to step around his man. Georgia making a couple of changes. The goalie's in the bench now, so we have the 6th skater out there. 6-on-5 now in favor of the Georgia Bulldogs. Minute 18 remains in regulation. That shot comes from the point. It hits a post. Rebound was sitting there briefly. Gannon just couldn't quite get enough of it to get it past the goaltender. Now a shot towards the empty net. That one's deflected wide, and Gannon's going to have to chase back behind his net before he starts up ice again. Exactly a minute left in regulation as Georgia looks for the equalizer. Big in across the blue line. They've got their big gun line out there, and Gutman is the 6th player out there, the 4th forward, as Niagara makes sure they get it out of the zone. Leighton Poole's going to have to dig in there to get back to that puck, but it's Cross that gets to it first for Niagara. Eventually it's going to be Gannon picking it up, skating it up ice with under 40 seconds to go in regulation. Conway carries it in up the right wing, circling the net now and looking for a passing option. He's got a man on him, close proximity, but Conway now has some room. He gets a shot away. That one gets blocked on the way through. Another shot block from Niagara. They've been excellent with that here tonight. Gutman, though, finds possession, gets it to Bigda. There's a shot in on goal, a rebound chance. Conway unable to find that one. Niagara gets the zone clear as Mazzaros has to hurry up and get out of the zone if Georgia's going to get a chance for a last opportunity here. 6 seconds now remain in regulation. Puck is in the neutral zone and sent into Georgia territory, and that's the way this one's going to end. A wildly entertaining affair from start to finish, and a 3-2 victory in favor of the Niagara Purple Eagles.
Very impressive win for Niagara, and this game really went all the way down to the end. The go-ahead goal, the game-winning goal, coming from Chad Moore in the third period, and Georgia ends up finishing their New York road trip 1 win, 1
Bridges have
loss, and 1
connected
tie,
people
while
for
Niagara goes
centuries.
2-1 on
When it
the
comes to
weekend.
helping
Impressive
small businesses
showing against
build
great
bridges
teams
with the
for them.
people
And I
they
think
serve,
both
there's a
teams
new
have to
gold
be real
standard.
happy with their efforts
412
here this
Communications
weekend.
offers a uniquely comprehensive
essentially
array of
going
media
2-1 on
solutions
the
to help
weekend.
your brand
Niagara
establish
with a
and
tough
maintain
loss yesterday
strong,
against
lasting
Binghamton.
connections.
Georgia losing this one, a tight back and forth game, but they have to be very pleased with how this trip has gone for their team. Good team building experiences and good experience playing against really tough competition up here in the Upstate New York Collegiate Hockey League.
My opinion of either of these teams has not changed. If anything, it's strengthened after tonight's contest. We've seen two teams that we expected to be top 10 or top 20, and they showed that tonight.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking the time today to join us for our broadcast here of the Upstate New York Collegiate Hockey League. We'll be bringing you games all throughout the season here on the Nickel City Hockey Network, league broadcasts from across the UNYCHL. And for our first game, might not have been able to pick a better one, Ryan. This one was excellent from start to finish. Both teams showing some sportsmanship here at the end with the handshake line. And I know that there's going to be at least a little bit of disappointment for the way that the weekend ended from Georgia's perspective. But this is nothing but a solid, positive weekend for both teams as they get ready for the campaign ahead.
Plenty of season left, and this is the type of thing that I think for both teams, yes, Georgia lost, but for both teams, moving forward from this, learning the lessons that they can compete all the way to the end with basically any opponent. And I think that really gives you a lot of confidence moving forward throughout the next couple of weeks and months of your season as Georgia heads back down south to take on some of the tough opponents down there. Niagara will stay up here, of course, in New York and compete against the rest of the UNYCHL. And I'm just excited to see where these two teams finish because they've clearly started off great, and I think they'll continue that momentum.
Wouldn't be surprised one bit if these two teams face off again in Philadelphia later on this year based on the way that this game was played. Also, could be a possibility that we see Georgia and St. Bonaventure. That was an excellent matchup last night down in Olean, as I think you have to be satisfied no matter which side of this affair you're on, as you had two teams getting some good early season experience against high-quality opponents, setting themselves up for what should be strong campaigns in the Collegiate Hockey Federation. We're going to take one last break here in our broadcast, and then we will come back and select our 3 stars of the game. As we had just a wildly entertaining affair, it was the Georgia Bulldogs falling by a score of 3-2 to close off their New York road trip here. 2 wins, or 1 win in a shootout, and then today's loss. But an excellent game, as we appreciate you taking the time to join us this afternoon on the Nickel City Hockey Network. Stay tuned. We will be back in a moment here to pick our 3 stars of the game.
To play your best, attitude and mindset are key. The saying, look good, feel good, play good, simply didn't come along by accident. And it's what Envious Gameware does with every team for which they design jerseys. Envious Gameware designs high-end custom hockey uniforms, bags, and apparel, and they're the official uniform provider of Buffalo State College Club Hockey. Find them online, enviousgameware.com.
Bridges have connected people for centuries. When it comes to helping small businesses build bridges with the people they serve, there's a new gold standard. 412 Communications offers a uniquely comprehensive array of media solutions to help your brand establish and maintain strong, lasting connections with your clientele.
And we're back here at Dwyer Arena on the campus of Niagara University. Certainly appreciate you taking the time this afternoon to join us on the Nickel City Hockey Network for our first league broadcast of the year. And we're going to hand out some 3-star awards here this afternoon, as certainly a lot of players to choose from, Ryan. Good play on each side. You can probably come up with a half a dozen names from each roster to suggest as a potential 3-star in this one. I think we're going to give the 3rd star, though, to the winning netminder in net for the Niagara University Purple Eagles, Josh Lascelles. He was excellent, making all the saves that he had to get his team the win.
He was really great tonight, and he got better as the game went on, which I really admired. later in the game, I think Georgia picked up the intensity. They had their top skaters out there, really pushing the envelope at the end on the power play with the 6-on-5 when they pulled their netminder, and LaSalle did not blink.
Yeah, you certainly can't fault him for either of the 2 goals that were let in. One was a bang-bang play across the front of the crease and a perfectly placed shot up under the bar. And the second one was a brilliant move to finish on a breakaway by Declan Conway. And that is our number 2 star of this game, number 29 in the red and white uniforms. Declan Conway, the center for Georgia, was phenomenal throughout this contest, and that's why he barely left the ice in the third period.
Absolutely. His ice time alone, I think, qualifies him for being a 3rd star or a 2nd star in tonight's game. And he also had the 2nd goal, which at the time tied this game at 2 for Georgia. Really just all over the place. And what I really admired most about him and saw tonight was, yes, he was attacking on offense, but he had plenty of gas left in the tank to get back and play defense, blocking shots like a number of Georgia teammates did. But I think Conway led the way in that aspect, a lot of leadership and some great play.
Our first start tonight, we're going to give it to the guy who scored the game-winning goal, number 26, Chad Moore for the Niagara Purple Eagles. A very well-placed shot there on the power play, taking advantage of a nicely set-up play from the far side of the ice, going low to high. Took advantage of the fact that he had the goaltender trying to slide across to make the save, and a good, hard, low wrist shot ends up being the deciding factor in this one. Chad Moore is our first star here tonight.
Chad Moore with a huge goal, really gave his team the victory, and on the power play, which was a bit of an issue tonight for both teams, but late in the game when it counted, they put Chad Moore out there because they knew their senior left winger would get the job done, and he did it with a nice wrist shot that really sealed the deal.
Yeah, we talked about the Niagara power play being something that was a potential to be a strength of this team with all the offensive firepower that they have. 2 power play goals is what they scored here tonight, and that basically ends up being the difference is how they come out with the win here in this game.
I'd say that really was the difference. These 2 teams were about as evenly matched as could be, except for the fact that Georgia could not capitalize on the power play, and they continuously squandered their power play opportunities. Meanwhile, Niagara got 2 massive goals with the man advantage, so that's, I think, what really set them apart tonight.
Probably play this game a dozen times, and it'll come out 6-6 with the way these 2 teams showed that they were so evenly matched, and can't do anything but thank both teams for giving us such a great game for our first UNYCHL broadcast of the year. And our coverage of UNYCHL hockey is presented by Buffalo Golf & Social, Western New York's leading indoor golf facility. Simulators, lessons, leagues, Buffalo Golf & Social is the area's best destination for year-round practice and instruction. Also with a great selection of beer and wine, it's the perfect place to sit and watch golf with others who love the game. Locations in downtown Buffalo and in Orchard Park. Be sure to book your next event at Buffalo Golf & Social. This broadcast also brought to you by Militello Realty, Western New York's premier commercial real estate broker. To buy, sell, or lease any office, industrial, retail, or investment property, trust the unparalleled knowledge and experience of Militello Realty. Find them online at militello.com. Our supporters also include Envious Gameware, designers of custom hockey uniforms, bags, and apparel. You can find them online, enviousgameware.com. And this broadcast also has been brought to you by 412 Communications, the new gold standard in digital media solutions. That's about going to wrap things up here from Dwyer Arena. Certainly appreciate you folks joining us across the country and wherever you watch this game here today. For color commentator Ryan Tantalo, our producer, John Dwyer, camera operator, Jeff Jazarowski. My name's Aaron Elpern. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.